It goes back to a story we started covering a few weeks ago, last month. You may remember there was a convenience store clerk, a young woman who was shot and killed during a robbery at a mini mart in Kelso. Well, police began a pursuit chasing what they believed to be was another person involved in that Kelso shooting last month. That pursuit took them from Vancouver across state lines into Oregon. Ultimately, they had to shut down the freeway, all the westbound lanes being shut down, and they remain shut down this morning as we enter the teeth of our morning commute. 7:03 in the morning, and right now I-84 westbound remains closed from I-205 to I-5. You cannot use the Banfield to get in from Vancouver. Christine Pitawanich, we have Chris coming back in, Chris McGinnis, but I also have Christine Pitawanich standing by because, Christine, you have put yourself right there in the middle of these traffic backups this morning, and you've been in a couple of different backups. Where are you at right now?
Just an immediate backup. Then drivers were diverted onto 84 eastbound, and then once you got onto I-84 eastbound, all you had to do was look across the way to 84 westbound, and you saw miles of just traffic, people stuck bumper to bumper. We're not quite to 205 yet in terms of the interchange, but I can tell you that once drivers approach the I-205 interchange, once it intersects with 84, obviously drivers will not be able to go onto 84 westbound, and they'll be forced to go 205 northbound. So really, the mantra of the morning, try to find another route if possible. I did actually speak with a couple of drivers stuck in this mess. They're already like an hour late to work. They're a little bit exasperated, but hey, they're like, you know, things happen. We have to deal with what we have to deal with. So this is the situation this morning. No word yet on when 84 westbound will reopen, but for the time being, drivers stuck in this mess. Back to you.
All right, Christine Pitawanich, thank you very much. Chris, you've got about 30 seconds before you got to get back to radio.
Yeah, so let's talk about some of the alternate routes. Folks that are maybe leaving Clark County, you got to get here. And I can tell you, by the way, that I-5 South is kind of handling some of the extra volume now this morning, so that drive time is off the charts already. That's like something like 65 minutes to get you in from Main Street. Know that as you're leaving Clark County, but also know that you probably don't want to take I-205 South unless you plan on getting off at like the Killingsworth, Columbia, Lombard couplet there. Use Lombard or Columbia Boulevard or Sandy Boulevard to get into downtown. If you're coming in from the east side, Gleason, not great, but that's a street you could use. Maybe Powell Boulevard a little farther south. That might be your best bet to try to get into downtown. This is having a major ripple effect across the entire freeway system. And before I scoot out of here, Drew, I want to remind folks again that on eastbound 84, we've got that rollover crash out near Fairview Parkway. So we still have some problems out on eastbound 84 with left lanes blocked there. And I'll have more on that coming up in a minute. I know we've got Sky 8 Live up over 205. Drew, go ahead and take it away. You know,
if you could be in here in the studio, Chris McGinnis is a man on fire this morning. He's doing so many different jobs. Right now, he is going back to handle his radio hits on KXL. We'll continue to bring you this coverage right here on our digital streams. We're on KGW.com right now. We're also up and running on our KGW Facebook page. You can chime in there right now if you're heading out the door. If you're maybe a passenger in a car that is stuck in this mess, you can chime in with us right now on Facebook. On our main page, our main KGW Facebook page, you can catch this live stream right now. And I do know that we have a couple of different people on there with us as we speak. So I can say good morning to Kathy. I can say good morning to Lisa. I can say good morning to Sean, those and others watching us right now on the Facebook live feed. Again, the major headline this morning, traffic-wise, is that I-84 westbound lanes remain shut down from I-205 to I-5. In other words, you cannot use the Banfield to get into downtown this morning, and so many of our viewers driving in every morning from Vancouver take that stretch from I-205 South and they connect to I-84 West, and that is not an option this morning. And we've seen a backup specifically there on I-205 southbound since way early this morning, since we were first on the air in the 4 a.m. hour. That backup continues, but then as Chris mentioned a moment ago, all these different routes that you can take to work around that I-84 closure, those are also backed up. You throw in a couple of accidents here and there, and this has been one of our worst Portland area commutes in quite some time. Again, the story, if you're just waking up, If you're just tuning in, if you're catching us on Facebook Live or on our digital stream on KGW.com, I-84 westbound lanes remain closed this morning from 205 to I-5, one of the busiest stretches of roads every morning. In fact, it's, if you could pick a direction where you wouldn't want to see the lanes closed, it would be the westbound lanes on 84 heading into downtown, but they have been closed all morning long. And we heard from Portland Police, or pardon me, Oregon State Police early this morning, and before 5 o'clock a.m., the word was, we're hopeful that these lanes will open shortly. But here we are more than 2 hours later, and those lanes remain closed. So we haven't gotten an update. We've been trying to contact the police or trying to get word from them on when they think these lanes will open up. But obviously, they have their hands full this morning on an investigation that continues. The story behind the whole reason why this started was because a police chase that began in Vancouver crossed state lines onto I-84, the westbound lanes. There was a shooting involving the police, and ultimately, they had to shut down those lanes for that police investigation. Chris McGinnis is back in from his radio duties to join us here on the Facebook Live and digital streams.
Yeah, let's talk about, again, the traffic impacts on some of the alternate routes. I mentioned Powell Boulevard, maybe a way to get around this for folks coming in from the southeast. Looks like we've got a little fender bender near Powell Park, so we've got some delays there. If you typically use Lombard, Columbia Boulevard, Sandy Boulevard to get, west anywhere, even if you're not heading into downtown, know that those are handling some of the overflow this morning. And I can tell you that I-5 traffic this morning is extra packed. The lineup on I-5 South starts just south of Hazeldale, just south of 78th Street this morning. I think a lot of folks in Clark County getting word that I-205 is just a disaster, and so the I-5 commute is stacked up. And as we go to the chroma wall here, thank you, Brian, we're looking at I-84. Looks a little foggy, by the way, out near Gresham. Here's the situation in Gresham right now. There's your westbound lineup for folks coming out of the Gorge, for folks coming out of Troutdale, Wood Village, Fairview. There's the westbound lineup heading to the mess near the Gateway District. The reason for this eastbound lineup is because we've got a rollover crash in Fairview, and right now the eastbound left and center lanes are blocked out near Fairview Parkway. So that's kind of the big trouble spot on the eastbound side of the freeway. I think I can show you that. No, we can't. So I'm going to give you a little different perspective here. We mentioned I-205 southbound traffic coming out of Clark County. It's already lined up in Clark County. All of that traffic that's trying to get onto the Banfield, it's all being diverted onto eastbound I-84. A lot of those cars are heading out towards the eastbound exit ramp at 122nd and then basically left to find their own way into downtown, which includes Gleason or Halsey or Powell Boulevard, or to the north you could use Sandy and Lombard. But that's what we're looking at here with this long lineup of traffic trying to get off the freeway there. I'm going to give you one more different perspective here. I think we've got the shot from Rocky Butte. No, we don't. One more. Let's see, door number 4 here. Gotta love live television here, or Facebook Live at this point. Okay, we'll try one more time. I think I've got a shot here near Rocky Butte. I-205 southbound traffic that is just absolutely plugged up right now. I'm coming off the Glenn Jackson Bridge and heading down towards the I-84 interchange. Okay, looks like I'm not going to be able to get that. Let's take that camera. There we go. Thank you, Director Brian. So here's the I-205 southbound lineup, and that extends back into Clark County at this point. So the long story short, if you're trying to get across the river out of Clark County, you either spend about an hour and 10 minutes on I-5 southbound because that's all plugged up, or I-205. I can't even give you a drive time right now because we just don't know when the Banfield's going to open, and all the other alternate routes are obviously starting to pack up. Trying to get across the Glenn Jackson and then into North and Northeast Portland. So it's just a big old mess there.
All right, Chris, when's your next radio report?
We've got about 5 minutes or so. We'll be, of course, probably good opportunity to plug our friends over at KXL. We do traffic on the 7s all morning, all afternoon long on KXL, so that's why I'm kind of bouncing back and forth here.
Well, we're on 2 different streams right now. You can watch us on KGW.com. Many of you are watching us right now on the digital stream on our main page, KGW.com. We're, of course, up live right now on Facebook, the main KGW Facebook page, where our Facebook Live presence is being felt by many viewers this morning. And, Chris, we're actually hearing from different people. One viewer, Emily, here says that she took Airport Way and she said it was, quote, a breeze. But then another viewer right after her, Minerva, it's M-I-N-E-V-R-A, she says Airport Way is still slow, but she says, I guess it's better than nothing. But the comment we're hearing most on this Facebook Live feed right now from many of you is why? Why is this backup happening? And it really has nothing to do with weather. Some people think it's weather related. It's not. There's a news story attached to this. So we can take you right now to some video. And this was from last night. We started covering the story before our late night news yesterday evening. It goes back to really a story last month. You may remember there was a shooting during a burglary at a mini mart in Kelso. The young woman behind the counter there was shot and killed. Police arrested a suspect in connection with that armed robbery last month, but there were others involved. There was a getaway car. There were several people in that car. Last night, a police chase began in Vancouver involving what was believed to be another suspect involved in that crime last month in Kelso. So police began chasing a vehicle in Vancouver last night. That police chase crossed over state lines. They ended up here on the Oregon side of the Columbia River on I-84, and that's where there was shootings, officer-involved shootings. While they were on the move, there were actually bystanders. There were a lot of people on the overpasses there on I-84 during over the course of several different on-ramps and off-ramps. People were witnessing this crazy scene involving the police last night on I-84. Eventually, they shut down the lanes there, and you can see that still this morning the westbound lanes of I-84 remain closed, all going back to that police chase last night. But the investigation is a huge one for police, and there's a lot of different agencies involved here. Of course, Vancouver began the chase. Portland police jumped in last night to assist, and those lanes remain closed because of that investigation. So that is the long answer to the basic question that people are asking: why are we experiencing this traffic backup on this Wednesday morning?
And something else to add to that, and not lost in the shuffle here, is that while a lot of that southbound 205 traffic is heading onto eastbound 84, getting off the freeway to 122nd, maybe they're going a little bit farther, they're running into another problem out in Wood Village with lanes blocked and about 2-3 mile backup on eastbound 84 trying to get out to Wood Village and Fairview. We've got a live look now from Sky 8, and unless we get a little wider, I can't precisely tell where this is. It looks like this. It's going to be near the 84-205 interchange. You see that ODOT and police have their trucks there blocking those inbound commutes. The headlight, I'm going to guess that's going to be either 205 or I-84 traffic heading in towards the Gateway District and then being diverted. So here's the deal with that. Again, 84 westbound closed from Gateway to downtown. I-205 southbound traffic. So all that traffic coming out of Clark County, passing Airport Way, trying to get to I-84, that's all being diverted onto eastbound 84, and I think that might be what we're looking at right there, actually.
You know, Chris, one of our producers just got into my ear to let me know that we got an update from Portland Police. And Portland Police, now the latest word is that this closure will stay in effect until 10 o'clock this morning. Oh, goodness. So we're not out of the woods anytime soon. Portland Police telling us that this closure could last another, well, if you go by our time right here, 7:15, we could be looking at another 2 hours and 45 minutes of I-84 westbound lanes remaining closed from I-205 into downtown, all the way closed from I-205 to I-5. In other words, the Banfield is not usable this morning. If you're heading in, like a lot of our viewers are, from the east side, from Vancouver, you cannot access downtown through the normal route, the Banfield Expressway this morning. This is a live look right now from Drive 8. If you're watching, that is, well, we have a crew there, including Christine Pitawanich, who has been behind. Or she's in the passenger seat. She's not multitasking. She's not driving and reporting. I think you're with Dave Angier this morning behind the wheel, Christine. But you guys have put yourselves in a couple of these different traffic snarls, if you will. Can you update us again on exactly where you're at and just how slowly? I can see you're not moving at all right now, but how long is it taking you to get from, say, point A to point B? How slow are you going?
Oh gosh, that's really hard to tell. I mean, time just moves so slow, right? Especially when you're stuck in this mess. Right now we're on westbound I-84, approaching about 122nd Avenue. We haven't, of course, hit the 205 interchange yet, but once we do, drivers will be diverted onto 205 northbound. At least that's what we saw earlier this morning. And yeah, you know, earlier we were also stuck in 205 southbound coming onto the highway via Killingsworth. And it was just bumper to bumper there too. Lots and lots of drivers definitely late for work this morning. From southbound 205, they were being diverted onto eastbound 84. Once you got onto I-84 eastbound, a lot of drivers were trying to take 122nd to get off and try to find another way into the city. But yeah, right now, the story of the morning is this terrible commute. In fact, it's going so slow that we were able to safely pull over to the side of the road and actually talk to drivers. They rolled down their windows. And, you know, a couple drivers that we spoke with, they talked about being late for, I think one guy was already an hour late. Another one was just taking it in stride. But yeah, he was just showing us his cell phone. He was using a traffic app and he just showed us just red. It was completely stopped. Right now, we've been stopped probably since I've been talking. But absolutely the story of the morning. If you have an alternate route that you can take into the city, definitely a good idea to do that. I know our Chris McGinnis has been covering that all morning long and giving people different ways to get into the city, and something definitely to think about, especially during this morning's commute. So we'll continue to keep you updated. Right now, we've seen a couple people pull over to the side of 84 westbound as we approach the interchange. Unsure if people maybe haven't gassed up, or, you know, you just got to be prepared, especially in this, one, cold weather, and two, in such a heavy backup that basically goes for miles, Drew.
All right, Christine, I appreciate that report. I understand that you guys are not going anywhere anytime soon, like so many other commuters this morning, so many others trying to get into downtown. We just got this tweet from Portland Police, and we're just going to read it to you right here. Portland Police just tweeting out this traffic alert again. They say they continue to gather evidence along local freeways. They point out that I-84 westbound from I-205 through 82nd Avenue is expected to remain closed until 10 o'clock this morning. They also make mention of the fact that southbound I-205 is closed north of the I-84 exchange. So again, that tweet coming from Portland Police just a few minutes ago. That is the latest. So this traffic nightmare for many people this morning will continue. Again, we just read that tweet from Portland Police, Chris, as you're walking in. I don't know if you heard that information or not. They were saying more specifically, we've been talking all morning about how the westbound lanes from 205 to I-5 are shut down. They're saying that I-205 to the 82nd Avenue exit will remain shut down through 10 a.m. So that's a little bit of a smaller stretch.
Oh, okay, so that sounds, if I read what's not being said there, then it sounds like 84 inside of 82nd Avenue might be reopening. That would be a question for us and producers to find out.
Do you want to pull up the tweet one more time? I don't know if we can do it that quickly.
Can we, if we could take a closer look at that, because that there's, you know, obviously that would be pretty impactful for people coming in from, you know, southeast from like North Tabor or from the Hollywood district. Folks will be very interested to know if maybe the westbound 84 commute opens up for them. But again, we're just speculating because they don't have all the information on that tweet that Portland Police just issued. What we do know is that 84 westbound is still closed. Okay, we know that. I-205 southbound traffic, this has been a mess since before we went on the air at 4:30 this morning. I-205 south, all of that traffic is being diverted onto eastbound 84, and then a lot of those cars are exiting eastbound 84 at 122nd Avenue.
So they're having to go out of their way, basically, to get
way out of their way. And not only that, but then they're getting onto the smaller side streets like Gleason or Halsey or Powell Boulevard, or if they're fortunate enough to get off the freeway before they hit that mess, Columbia Boulevard, Sandy Boulevard, you get the idea. But all of those streets, know this, that, you know, you don't live in Clark County and you say, oh, well, it doesn't impact me. If you use any of these streets, or if you use Gleason or Halsey or Powell Boulevard, you're likely experiencing or will experience extra heavy commute volume this morning. So that's, you know, it's having a ripple effect. It's impacting a lot of commuters. We're talking tens of thousands of people here that are going to be late to work this morning because of this mess. This is what I-205 looks like from the Prescott overpass. For some perspective, there's the Max Line tracks. That's northbound 205. And on the far right-hand side of the screen here, I'll step out of the way, that's Rocky Butte. So this is all the traffic basically coming out of Clark County on I-205, and then they're being shunted onto eastbound I-84 at that point. Let's see what's behind door number 2. I've almost forgotten which cameras we're looking at here. Okay, this is 84 out near 122nd, and you can see that right lane of eastbound I-84 lining up as those folks try to get off the freeway and figure out a different way to get into downtown. Behind door number 3, I think we've got another look at Sky 8. Okay, we'll switch gears. We'll come back to them in a minute once they get set on their shot. Oh, actually, as I say that, it looks like they're coming into focus here out near Rocky Butte. So it looks like, okay, this is the 84-205 transition, and there you can see all the traffic on 205 southbound. The police cars have everybody, again, funneling over into that tunnel that takes them onto eastbound 84. I want to go back out to the east side in the Gresham commute. Again, this is what I-84 looks like from 181st Avenue. Both sections of the freeway, both directions are stacked up. The eastbound trouble on I-84 here out in Gresham is because of the rollover wreck that's near Fairview Parkway. And you can see at this point, all 3 lanes of I-84 out near Gresham, this is eastbound, basically not moving. Looks pretty foggy on that side of town too. This is the exit ramp from 84 East out to 181st Avenue. So again, headlights, the eastbound commute, tail lights, this is all the westbound commute. So folks coming in from the Gorge, folks coming in from Troutdale and Wood Village and Gresham getting on 84 westbound, this is what they're waiting in. And they're going to wait like this all the way into the I-205 interchange, only to be sent to I-205 north. So big mess on that side of town. Look like we're waiting for some instructions here. So we're going to step in and do a traffic tandem.
During the actual TV broadcast, I normally wouldn't join you here, but I'm watching you. I'm thinking, how are you remembering all this? There's so much information out there.
There's two big issues, right? So, and then, you know, we know the geography, we know the roads. I mean, a lot of us that drive these roads daily, well, I do. You know them like the back of your hand, right? So, you know, that helps. Sure. You know? And so that's, you know, basically how we know all this.
Right now we're on Facebook Live, and I'll get back to the desk so I can see some more of the comments. But the one workaround that I'm hearing most often is Airport Way, and that's not going to work for everybody. Some people are actually saying it's not a problem on Airport Way, which I figured that would be so backed up because of this.
Wait, and it won't be for a little while anyway, because a lot of the folks that are, you know, keep in mind, a lot of maybe we can take. Let me go back to that Prescott camera here. Do I have that? Let's see. Do I have that behind door number 1? Hopefully. What we're looking at here is the 205 South backup, right? I'm guessing that a lot of the folks, a good 50, 60, 80% of the folks in there, I mean, that's gross numbers here, but a lot of these folks probably didn't even hear that 84 is shut down, right? So this is all your Clark County commute, and they're well past Airport Way at this point. So yes, that would be why, if you're listening to us in Gresham and Fairview and Wood Village, you could take Airport Way for a while to get a little closer into downtown. But remember, it doesn't matter once you get to the Banfield, or if you're thinking about the Banfield, Banfield's closed. So you can't get in from that point. And we need to clarify, by the way, and Drew, maybe we can do this. I don't know if you've heard from producers or not, the tweet from Portland Police about the kind of narrowing down the closure. Did we get any more information on that?
I don't have any more information on that, Chris. I can give you a break if you'd like, because the question we're asking, or we're hearing most often on the Facebook Live feed, and there is that tweet again. It doesn't really clarify what you're hoping to hear, Chris, but that is the tweet. I'll just read it out loud. Portland Police Bureau continuing to gather evidence along local freeways. They say in this tweet that I-84 westbound from I-205 through 82nd Avenue is expected to remain closed until 10 a.m. And they also add southbound I-205 is closed north of the I-84 exchange.
And that would then imply that it's possible that I-84 inside of 82nd Avenue,
that's what I read,
might reopen. So that's what we need to find out, but that is not the case right now. Guys, I'm going to take a quick break here to go talk to our radio friends, and I'll be back in just a minute.
Sure, that would be some relief this morning if they could get that those westbound lanes from 82nd Avenue into downtown reopened. That would definitely help with this morning's commute. Right now, they remain closed. Right now, the closure is I-205 to I-5. The westbound lanes of 84 again closed between I-205 and I-5, so you cannot get into downtown through I-84 this morning heading west. But as Chris just mentioned, that Portland Police Bureau tweet suggests that perhaps by 10 a.m.
Like rolling on it,
by 10 a.m. they would have some lanes reopening south of, or I should say west of, 82nd Avenue. So we'll see what comes of that. All we can tell you right now is that the traffic nightmare that we've had since before 5 o'clock this morning continues. The Banfield Expressway is not an option this morning as you head into downtown Portland. And again, as we broadcast live both in our digital stream on KHW.com and through our Facebook Live pages, the biggest story, or the biggest question we're being asked, is why this is happening. Before we get to the why, I was told that Chris has an update. Can you hear me, Chris?
I do, Drew, I do hear you, and I want to give you an update on eastbound I-84. We're just hearing this now from ODOT, that eastbound I-84, we've been talking about this as kind of a secondary issue, but this rollover crash out near Fairview Parkway on eastbound I-84, and I'm going to punch that camera up real quick on my traffic box here, guys. Maybe we can't see that, but we can see what it looks like at 181st. Eastbound 84 is now, in fact, completely shut down out near Fairview Parkway for that rollover crash. And that was the update I wanted to give you. I mentioned that one lane was getting by. That is not the case right now, Drew. Eastbound I-84 is completely shut down prior to Fairview Parkway. More on that coming up in a bit. I got to scoot.
Absolutely, Chris. So here's the deal. As you watch us online, as you watch us on Facebook Live, we're in our main studios here.
All
We
right,
also
Rebecca,
do the Today Show cut-ins, and Ashley is going to bring us that here in a moment. So I don't know how much time we have before we need to break for that. If you're watching on Facebook Live, if you're watching on the digital stream on KGW.com, you will get to watch Ashley provide us with that cut-in here. Do you know how far away you are from that, Ashley?
Producers, can you talk to me here?
We're 30 seconds away from that.
Okay, can somebody talk to me on IFB so I have, yep, I hear you, Celeste. Okay.
The biggest question we're being asked on Facebook Live is what led to, what's the story behind this major backup? It takes more than 30 seconds to share that story, so I'm going to let Ashley do the cut-in here,
Yeah,
and then we'll come back on Facebook Live.
Just go ahead and they can just listen in
Yep,
here. We're going
absolutely.
to, this is live TV, so we're just going to keep this going here. Celeste, we have Sky 8 to start, and I mean ODOT, okay, and this is my correct script, right? Can I see programming? News this morning of that huge traffic mess out on the roads. I-84 westbound is completely shut down from I-205 to I-5. The backup is going on for miles. Portland police just telling us within the last 30 minutes or so that this closure is expected to last until 10 o'clock this morning. So we have a good 2.5 hours to go. Good morning and thanks for joining us on this Wednesday. I'm Ashley Korsland. Now this whole thing is pretty complex. It all started last night after a police chase that started in Vancouver over into Portland. It eventually ended in a shootout between Vancouver police officers and two suspects on I-84. We're told one of those suspects was the alleged getaway driver in that armed robbery and shooting death of a Kelso convenience store clerk. So a lot unfolding. As you can imagine, police have a lot of evidence to gather. If they're spanning miles on I-84, gathering shell casings, evidence, putting out markers. I mean, if you think about it, this could take hours and obviously is taking hours for their investigation to play out. So let's start with Chris McGinnis this morning. Chris, walk us through some of the traffic impacts.
Okay, well, first off, you know what, Ashley, we've got another major traffic impact out near Fairview Parkway, and I want to give you the update on this. I'm going to step out of the way. It's a little foggy out there, maybe some freezing fog at this point on Interstate 84 out in the Fairview Gresham area. And you're looking at eastbound 84 from the perspective of Fairview Parkway, where it is currently shut down. We've had a rollover crash there on eastbound 84, and that has the eastbound section of the freeway lined up, stacked up, out past 181st. In fact, it looks like that lineup on eastbound 84 is extending all the way to about 148th right now. Meanwhile, we're looking live at Sky 8. This is the other huge story that we're talking about this morning. This is over the pickup truck involved in that shootout on the freeway last night. And the impact of this, obviously major. I-84 westbound remains shut down from Gateway to downtown. And the drive times out of Clark County are just enormous right now, right? A lot of folks are maybe opting to take I-5 instead of I-205, which ordinarily might be a good idea in this situation. But we're up over 60 minutes just to get you in from Main Street. And you can probably tack on another 25 to 30 if you're talking Salmon Creek or Hazeldale down to the Fremont Bridge. So really brutal situation there. This is the latest, though, trouble spot, guys. I know a little different than what we've been talking about, but that closure of eastbound I-84 out near Fairview Parkway is not helping the situation. So big mess on the east side. And it sounds like we've got Christine Pitawanich live in the backup out there as well. We're going to hear from her coming up.
Yeah, Chris, we're going to go out to Christine, but I just want to reiterate again that Portland police saying this is going to go on until at least 10 o'clock this morning. But yeah, Christine, she is in our mobile unit, Drive 8. Christine, you've been out in this mess on I-84 for hours. Give us some perspective.
It really is a mess, Ashley. I mean, all we see are brake lights. I mean, right now we've been at a stop probably for at least the last 30 seconds, minute or so. But if we're not at a stop, then we're rolling and then stopping. This is the case for a lot of the drivers, tens of thousands of people really impacted by this traffic mess that we've been talking about all morning long. Right now, we're on I-84 westbound, have not hit the 205 interchange yet. We're at about 122nd Avenue. And I can tell you on the other side of 84, so 84 eastbound, a lot of people trying to get off the highway at 122nd. Earlier this morning, we were on southbound I-205. We got on at Killingsworth, and it was boom, immediate traffic. I can tell you right now, I'm looking to my right, I can see 205, and I can see the long line of cars that are just waiting on 205 southbound to get into the city and to get closer to the city at least. Right now, 84 westbound, again, kind of a parking lot, not going anywhere anytime soon. In fact, I was able to speak to a couple drivers who are already an hour plus late to work, and it seems they're going to be much later because this traffic isn't moving nearly at all. And as you said, Ashley, Portland police saying I-84 westbound probably won't be open till about 10 a.m. So if we can find a route around this, if any drivers can find another way into the city, that's probably a good idea because gosh, yeah, this is a mess. This is a mess for sure.
All right, Christine, thank you. When you think about it, I mean, this is a mess, but also other routes around town. When you're talking I-5, everybody's funneling that way. So, but that is a disaster this morning. So stay with us on this story again, as Christine reiterating there, 10 a.m. could be the earliest lane openings for us this morning. All right, this is obviously the big story this morning, but we do have some weather impacts we want to let you know about this morning, some school cancellations and delays. There is some ice out there because it has just been very cold overnight and into this morning. So we'll let you know that you can see those school impacts scrolling at the bottom of your screen. It's also at KGW.com. Let's send things over to Rod Hill in the Weather Center with a look at the forecast.
Well, right now it's basically clear over city. It's hazy out, and Chris mentioned looks like we have some pockets of some freezing fog potentially as well. It's kind of a murky look from our Wells Fargo building. 24 currently, and in fact that is the coldest temperature of the winter season we've had so far. This goes on to be a partly to mostly sunny day with light winds. 36 at lunchtime. I think we have a chance to go as warm as 40 here in the valley. We have a dry day tomorrow. Friday morning we're watching, could be a wintry mix of light precipitation. Friday night it's rain. Saturday watch for rain turning into snow. The possibility of accumulation still in the forecast Saturday PM night into Sunday. We'll have another update including the I-84 traffic mess coming up at 8 o'clock, and Facebook Live continues.
All right, we are still on Facebook Live right now. We are continuing our coverage here this morning. A lot of you still watching us through two streams, actually. Our digital stream on KGW.com and the Facebook Live stream happening on our main KGW Facebook page. We just got the live look, the Live Today show cut in, courtesy of Ashley and Chris and Christine and Rod Hill with the weather update there. We are continuing to focus on this traffic situation, though, that has been the big story all morning long. It's a story that started last night. Before we go any further, let's address that situation, because for all of you who are chiming in right now on our Facebook Live feed, the question that is most asked is what happened. The assumption is because of yesterday that this was weather related. This has nothing to do with the weather. It has to do with that scene you're looking at right there. This is a shot from last night. Police involved in a shooting that happened right there on the freeway. It goes back actually to a story we covered a few weeks ago. Last month, there was an armed burglary, a convenience store clerk, a mini mart clerk in Kelso was shot and killed during a robbery there. The suspect, police have arrested a suspect in that case in the shooting, but there were others involved. There was a getaway car that evening during that armed robbery. And last night, police began a chase in Vancouver. It was Vancouver's police department pursuing a car. Inside that car was believed to be one of the people involved in the shooting that night in Kelso. That officer involved chase, crossed state lines. They ended up here on the Oregon side of the Columbia River. And then they ended up there on I-84, the westbound lanes. There again was a shooting. There was actually an officer who was injured in that case last night. His injuries are not believed to be serious, but an officer was hurt during this shooting last night. And again, they had to shut down the freeway because of this investigation, which continues. This is a big case. This is a lot of work for the Portland police, and that work continues this morning as they continue to keep those lanes shut down so they can handle and they can continue that investigation. Bottom line, ladies and gentlemen, as you continue to tune in here at 7:36 in the morning, The story that we had at 5 a.m. continues to be the story at 7:36. All the westbound lanes of I-84 are shut down from I-205 to I-5. In other words, you cannot use I-84. You can't use the Banfield to get into downtown Portland this morning. It's not a weather situation. It is a Portland police ongoing investigation. They have those lanes shut down right now. And the only word we've gotten here over the last couple of hours is they hope that these lanes will be reopened maybe at 10 a.m. That's not great news, but that's the news we have. This shutdown could continue for the next 2.5 to 3 hours as that work by the police continues in that ongoing investigation. We have several different vantage points as we continue to monitor the situation right now. We have the ODOT cameras, and we're looking at one right here. We have Christine Pitawanich live inside of our Drive 8 unit this morning. She's been actually right stuck in the middle of a few of these different delays around town, both on I-205 and on I-84. We have the vantage point from Sky 8 that we're taking from time and again, just to give you an idea of just how expansive this traffic nightmare is, because it impacts not only I-84 traffic, it involves I-205 traffic and those trying to get around all this on I-5. That's backed up now as well. Every morning, regardless of the day of the week, regardless of the time of the year, the biggest backups we see every morning during this time comes in from Vancouver. So many of those people use I-205 and connect to I-84 and they head into downtown. A lot of those people got on the freeway, as Chris mentioned a moment ago. Chris McGinnis, our traffic expert, mentioned. I'm sure a lot of those people got on there this morning without hearing these reports. They get on thinking it's a normal morning, and they find out once they're in that snarl that this is not going to be a normal morning. So many people have been stuck in that traffic now for hours. So again, the story, if you are still at home, if you haven't gotten out of the house yet, if you're planning to get into downtown Portland, one of the biggest options used is not able to be used this morning. You cannot use the Banfield to get into downtown Portland. All of the westbound lanes remain shut down from I-205 to I-5. That's a story that we're going to continue to cover here this morning. We're going to stay right here on our digital platforms. You can watch us on KGW.com. You can watch us on Facebook Live. I know a lot of you are, because I can see you right now this morning on the Facebook Live stream. Letitia among those who is chiming in. Jennifer Ellis chiming in. I really appreciate the fact that before I can get to answering some of these questions, our viewers are chiming in and answering some of these questions, because that is the most asked question we're hearing. Why is this nightmare happening? Why do we have this backup? Why are the lanes of I-84 westbound closed this morning between 205 and I-5? As Jennifer Ellis puts it right here on our Facebook Live feed, pretty concisely, robbery in Kelso that turned into a car chase in Portland off 82nd and a shootout with police. And there's the scene that we're talking about. This isn't live video, of course. This is from last night, but that is the police presence we saw last night. The police presence continues this morning. The investigation continues, and it all stems from this freeway chase. Vancouver police began the chase. They crossed into Oregon state lines. Portland police jumped in to help out with this chase, and it all stems from that young woman you saw there on the screen a moment ago. That young woman who was shot and killed at a mini mart in Kelso last month. Police arrested a suspect involved in that shooting, but there were others involved that day in the case. There was a getaway car with several people in it. Among those in that car, police believe they were chasing that person last night right there on I-84. Eventually, there were shots fired. People could see those shots fired from the overpasses. I mean, this was a scene that just unfolded in front of people last night during around 8 o'clock, between 8 o'clock and 9 o'clock last night. So a lot of witnesses to this police scene last night and the shooting right there along the highway. And the investigation continues this morning, hours later. There you see the suspect involved in that police chase last night. Urkison Bossy, his name, again, believed to be connected to that armed robbery last month in Kelso that unfortunately ended with a young woman behind the counter there at the convenience store in Kelso being shot and eventually dying from her injuries. So police continue to investigate. We continue to watch this traffic nightmare unfold. Chris McGinnis is back alongside with me here in our KGW studios, the traffic expert, if you will, Chris. And I don't know if we're running out of options as far as workarounds here, but what do you have as far as the latest goes?
Well, first off, if you're in Clark County and you're watching us right now, you're going to be late. I mean, there's no way around it. You're going to be late. Plan on that. Know that. And if you have the ability to reschedule some things or something, do that by all means. All right, so right now I believe we're looking at Christine Pitawanich's live shot, and looks like she's on 84. I'm going to say that's westbound, given the train on the right-hand side of her screen there, right? Mm-hmm. So maybe we can switch gears real quick and go back to the ODOT cameras. I want to show you what the folks out of Clark County are dealing with as they hit I-205. This is near the Prescott overpass, and suddenly, this is not something I expected to see, but it looks like traffic is starting to move just a little bit there. We'll get back to that camera in just a second. Let's switch gears real quick. And do we have the chroma wall active here? Are we able to go ahead and activate this? I want to see if I can cycle through some of these cameras. There we go. It looks like it's starting to go for us anyway. Maybe. Let's try that one more time. Boy, it just doesn't like that very much. I-205 out of Clark County. First off, and look at this, by the way. Another issue, as we look closely here, it looks like we're starting to see some fog, some freezing fog out there. This is I-205, again, from SR 500. And there's the lineup right now, and all of these cars are just stuck. It is a very, very heavy and slow commute getting in from that side of town in Clark County. Let's switch gears real quick. We'll take you, okay, looks like we lost our Sky 8 shot, so we'll switch gears one more time and then go behind door number 4. And I think we've got to look at what's going out on the east side of I-205. So this is Interstate 84. What you're looking at is the westbound commute, and all of these westbound commuters are being funneled onto I-205 north at this point. This lineup extends all the way out to 181st and Gresham. Meanwhile, I mentioned folks on 205 south, right? They're getting diverted onto eastbound 84, and the only exit that they can take east of 205 is 122nd Avenue. So that's what that right lane is right here. That's eastbound I-84, traffic exiting at 122nd, and then those drivers are all left to find another way to get into downtown, which includes Halsey and Gleason and Powell Boulevard to the south, or maybe Lombard and Columbia Boulevard to the north. So that's what we're dealing with there. And the other big thing that I can't show you right at this moment because I don't have it queued up is the rollover crash that we have in Fairview Parkway. This is a big deal because eastbound I-84 is down to one lane out near Fairview Parkway. So traffic there is lined up again a couple of miles trying to get out towards, towards Gresham and Troutdale. So we've got our work cut out for us this morning. And a quick look at the drive times. Yeah, so and these are estimates. These are estimates. These are just from point A to point B on the freeway. That does not include your ramp travel time, getting on the ramp, getting off the ramp. That does not include the side streets that you would take to get to work. This is just point A to point B on 8 to 10 miles of freeway, or 7 miles. Main Street to the Fremont Bridge on I-5, 65 minutes. But as I mentioned, that lineup actually now starts all the way up in Hazeldale.
So when you say those are estimates, and I should point out Pat Dorse joining the fray here this morning, and Pat's going to talk to us more about this this scene that led to this major traffic situation. But when you say those times are estimates, that's not necessarily good news. That could be bad news because they could be even longer than we're showing on the screen.
And it doesn't include, your travel time to and from the freeway, which, as we mentioned, with folks scrambling to find those alternate routes, well, so too is everybody else, right? So it's adding.
You may have mentioned this before, but I think this is as bad as any snowstorm
that
we've seen in a long time.
For sure. And that's and so again, in Clark County, if you have a chance to reschedule some things,
do it.
Do it. Otherwise, you look at the lineup that you're going to sit in, and it's going to take you a lot of extra time this morning.
Well, go to the bathroom before you leave. Make sure you got gas.
Full tank of gas. Yeah.
I think to your point, Pat, right, if we know snow is coming, and sometimes we don't, sometimes we do get hit with those surprise storms, but generally speaking, if we know there's even a threat, people are paying attention, people are watching, people are taking note. This is a scene that if you weren't paying attention last night, you got up this morning, you headed out the door, you did not see this coming. You're entering this traffic snarl with no warning.
Sure, and even I saw a tweet, I think around 2 a.m., I assumed it would be all cleared by now.
Right.
Of course. What do you got?
Of course. Yeah. No, I was going to say it does look like. Can we take that camera one more time? Can we go back to that ODOT camera at 205 at Prescott? It looks like we've got some movement.
Oh.
We certainly have some movement there. That's the first that we've seen all morning. I-205 south at Prescott there. So for some perspective, Rocky Buttes on the right-hand side of your screen. That's the Prescott overpass there in the foreground, and 205 south is starting to roll again. So we're going to have to work to get some clarification from Portland Police as to what may or may not be open. They may very well be letting 205 traffic southbound past the Banfield at this point. I'm guessing that's what happened, but don't quote me on that just yet. The Banfield, as we know it, is still closed inside the Gateway District all the way into downtown.
It's just remarkable. Tens of thousands of people
This
stuck.
is tens of thousands of people. I mean, we're talking maybe 40, 50,000 people that are involved in either the I-5 lineup and the extra commute or the I-205 backup. I got to scoot real quick, but I'll be right back.
Scoot, you will.
You've been doing a great job of letting people know what's going on and how to get around it.
Just to reset the deck, if you're watching right now, this is not the normal news broadcast.
Nope.
Of course, you're watching us by way of two streams. You're either watching us through our live stream on KGW.com, or you're checking us out on the KGW Facebook live stream that we're providing right now on the main KGW TV Facebook page. Chris McGinnis doing an outstanding job for us. He's going to run in and do some radio hits. He'll be back out with us here to talk more about this on Facebook and on our .com page. Pat Doris joins us now. Pat, you actually had to drive into work earlier this morning than you normally would, and you come in from the east side. Were you impacted by any of this?
No, because I come across the Fremont Bridge. I wanted to just take a look at this, though. ODOT is now telling us one westbound lane of I-84 is now open at Northeast 181st. So I think that's good news. That's
going to free up a little bit. I mean, that is when you shut down every westbound lane to get from I-205 into downtown.
Yeah.
I mean, like you said, tens of thousands of people impacted by that move. So if you could pick a set of lanes to not shut down on any given Portland morning, it would be those westbound lanes from I-205 into downtown. But that's the situation we were faced with this morning.
It's just brutal. And for people saying, well, why do you have to shut it down for so long? It's because of the seriousness of the crime. I mean, this all ties back to a murder of a convenience store clerk up in Kelso. And the police made an arrest, I think it was last week. I didn't cover that specific case, but they said, hey, we think there's more people involved. And initially they said, we think that there's more than one person in the car. So obviously they've been pulling at leads and finding the strings that lead to the fabric of what happened. And last night they were able to find this one guy. They made an arrest late in the night, I think, and then they had a second guy they were trying to bring in. Became a chase from Vancouver down around, and somebody in the car started shooting back at the officers. I believe one of the officers' windshield was hit. He was sent to the hospital. I'm sure there was a return of gunfire. I mean, can you imagine?
Well, so many people actually saw this happen because there were people on the overpasses on several different parts of I-84 last night, and there's video from the scene last night. I mean, what a police presence on one of our most, one of the biggest freeways we have here in the state of Oregon. Right there, shut down those westbound lanes. But people were chiming in through social media because people saw this all unfold. All that gunfire you just spoke about, that was happening right before people's eyes last night. It wasn't that late at night either. It was before our 10 o'clock news last night.
Wow. And it is remarkable that nobody was killed. I mean, that is thankful. But now you start to think about the investigation. They need to go find every single bullet shell, identify whether it was a police shell or the other guy's shell, where was it, document it. And so the entire stretch there that they went through becomes a crime scene. And you know probably, and I definitely do from being at crime scenes, they have an inner crime scene and then an outer. And once they put that tape up, they don't care who you are. You're not coming through unless you're an investigator who needs to be there.
I'm glad you're bringing that up, Pat, because we are getting feedback right now. I'm just kind of looking down at the feed that we're seeing on our Facebook Live right now. And there is some frustration being voiced here. People saying, how can this take so long? Why are the police keeping this shut down for so long? And they're getting angry. But you just brought up a great point. They have to do their job.
It does take time. I mean, and you know, it's a valid frustration. We've seen fatal crashes that are cleared quicker, you know, in 5-6 hours maybe. And you can bet that the police brass feel the pressure, ODOT feels the pressure, but at the same time, you don't want to end up in court with a shaky case because you were rushing to make it better for the morning commute. So it's that dichotomy there. You're trying to do two things at once, but, you know, to their credit, they appear to be focused on doing the law and justice thing first.
You know, I don't want to speak for them, but I'm sure that they would like to have had this reopened hours ago. Before we hit the air this morning at 5 a.m., that was the question we asked. We asked Oregon State Police, we asked Portland Police, you know, how long? That's the question we're going to be asked. So we asked them, how long are these lanes going to stay closed for? And the answer we got then, back at 5 o'clock this morning, was we hope to reopen them soon.
One westbound lane of 84.
Well, here we are, 3 hours later nearly, and like soon is not yet here. But Christine Pitawanich has been in Drive 8 for us all morning long. Christine, for the first time in a while, we're checking in with you while you're actually moving. And I don't just mean inches at a time. So can you tell us, Christine, where you are right now and why you're suddenly moving when before you weren't?
Well, literally, we just got on to I-205 northbound, and previously, earlier this morning, at the 205 I-84 interchange. Drivers earlier this morning were forced to go 205 northbound, but I think traffic is moving a little bit better now because 205 southbound has finally reopened. So we saw cars getting out of this backup, moving from the 205 northbound lane to get into the open and free 205 southbound lane. But I will say, looking over to the 205 southbound to my left, you know, still heavy traffic, and even heavy traffic here getting on to northbound 205. But yeah, we made it through that I-84 jam on I-84 westbound. Gosh, we probably spent the last hour and a half on I-84 westbound. I think we got on to 84 westbound just past 122nd. But yeah, still a headache for the morning commute, I think, even though from what I hear, I think I heard Pat mention something about a lane being opened. I think that was at 181st, which was, you know, way down the way eastbound, you know, in terms of on I-84. So I'm not sure how much that affects the stretch that's closed between 205 and 82nd, I think Portland police say. But I guess, yeah, I'm hearing from producers that it is open. That we've got it in a tweet. So, you know, maybe the bright side, it's looking up. One lane of westbound 84 is what we're hearing. So at least some people might be starting to get through. Still, though, I know a lot of people are late to work this morning, Drew.
Christine, thank you for that. And let's go ahead and just take this. We can pull up the tweet right now that kind of speaks to what Christine was just saying a moment ago. This comes from the Oregon Department of Transportation. Again, one westbound lane of I-84 is now open at Northeast 181st. As they mentioned, this is the site of an earlier truck crash. So this is not related to the police presence lower in, if you will, closer into town on I-84 on the westbound lanes. But one westbound lane of I-84 now open at Northeast 181st. Chris McGinnis, I don't know if you can speak to that right now as you re-enter the studios here.
Let's talk about this one. Okay, let me keep that one up for a second.
I think what that means is you can now get closer to the closed area faster.
Hang on a second. That's actually a good point, but I crashed near Fairview Parkway. That was eastbound. The eastbound left lane and center lanes are still closed. The right lane is open.
Nicely done, Chris McGinnis.
I think that there's a couple of situations out there, and it's just there's so much going on this morning.
Yeah.
Okay, so eastbound I-84. We've got a rollover crash out in that area that's seeing some freezing fog and whatnot out near Fairview Parkway. So that's stacking up the drive a couple miles there. Here's the deal, as we just heard from Christine Pitawanish, that southbound 205 has reopened at 84. So that should help to alleviate some of the logjam. Remember, for hours, 205 south traffic was being diverted onto eastbound I-84. Guys, I can't move off of this at this point, so we're just going to have to take that. If you move me over to the wall, we can take it. That's, by the way, that first graphic that you were looking at was Sky 8. So I believe that we're in darkness there. So let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and switch gears real quick because I know we've lost that camera. But door number 2 should give us a little different perspective of what it looks like out of Clark County right now. This is I-205. Looks like, by the way, it looks like we've got a little freezing fog up there as well. In any event, I-205 South is still plugged up. But the good news that we just heard here is that has reopened near the 84 interchange. 84, though, westbound, still closed coming in from Gateway. So those are the two big issues this morning that we're watching and what it's doing to the drive times here. 84, with that being a no-go, it's stacking up 205. A lot of folks using I-5 too. Guys, that's about a 7-mile commute from Main Street, Highway 99 down to the Fremont Bridge?
Yeah.
That's a good estimate, yep.
That's taken folks 61 minutes. Jeez. And mind you that lineup actually starts 1 or 2 freeway exits before the Main Street on-ramp. So we're talking about a lineup from Hazeldale now all the way down to the Fremont Bridge as that handles some of the overflow traffic. So it's just a really, really rough situation coming in from Clark County. And yeah, let's hear from Christine. Christine, are you there?
We're getting back on.
We
Chris,
can see
there?
you.
Hello?
We can see you, Christine. Thank you. Go and tell us what you're seeing.
Hey, Chris. Okay, so we got off the freeway. We're winding back around. I heard you talk about 84, the eastbound traffic diversion. We have not seen, I just wanted to clarify, we have not been on southbound 205 where it diverted onto eastbound 84 for a little while now, which is why we're going there to see if there are any new developments. What I was talking about earlier was we were on 84 westbound, and earlier in the morning, 205 southbound, that option was closed off to drivers, for drivers headed 84 westbound. Instead, drivers were forced to go 205 northbound. But when we were just there heading east or westbound on 84, drivers were now given the option, hey, you can go 205 northbound or southbound. So now we're going back around to see if there have been any changes for the drivers headed southbound 205 onto 84 eastbound. We'll check in with you in a second.
All right, Christine, thanks a lot for that report. We are broadcasting right now on our two live streams, KGW.com's live stream and the Facebook live stream on the main KGW TV Facebook page. Christine Pitawanaj obviously chiming in from the roadways for us this morning. Chris McGinnis will be back in here shortly with a traffic update. We're also doing our normal Today Show cut-ins from this very same studio. So Ashley Korslin is standing by right now. What's going to basically happen if you're watching on Facebook Live or on KGW.com, 1 minute from right now, you will also get the pleasure of watching Ashley conduct our Today Show cut-ins. And we're actually keeping those open a little bit longer. Normally those are a minute long.
Right.
This morning they're going several minutes because of all this news.
We'll let those kind of breathe a little bit. So guys, we're just going to tune in here to our on-air. Can you guys give me programming as we get ready? We're about, what, 30 seconds out?
Drew, did you notice the ratings always go up when Ashley's on?
Well, you know, I also know she requires a few more bells and whistles to get on TV than we need to get on this Facebook feed.
Okay, we're 30 seconds out, guys.
Stand by.
And Celeste, one more time, recap for me. We'll go. Okay. O.cam. Oh, and Sky 8's not live, though, correct? Is Sky 8 still up?
And for the folks watching the stream, you're watching Christine
and Brian, did you
in our mobile studio driving around.
Okay. Good morning. Now at 7:58, we are tracking breaking news this morning of that huge traffic mess on the roads this morning. I-84 westbound is still shut down from I-205 to I-5. That backup going for miles. We want to take a look right now at what things looked like from Sky 8. This was taken about a half an hour ago, and you can just see just a back up here, a big traffic jam. Portland police, the last time we checked in, they tell us the closure is expected to last until 10 o'clock, so we still have a couple hours to go. Good morning on this Wednesday. I'm Ashley Korslin. This whole thing started actually last night after a police chase in Vancouver. It then spilled into Portland. It ultimately led to a shootout between Vancouver officers and two of those suspects. It happened on I-84, and we're still trying to get details of that. Here's what we do know, though. One of those suspects is the alleged getaway driver in the armed robbery and shooting death of a Kelso convenience store clerk. So again, a lot to figure out with this investigation. We do know, typically in any officer involved shooting, these investigations play out for hours and hours. They have to be out there collecting lots of evidence, putting markers out, collecting shell casings. So, that's just in a normal situation. But if you can imagine this spanning for miles across two states, it's very complex. Let's check in now with Chris McGinnis here at 8 o'clock. Chris, I know you're following. There are even more messes out there traffic-wise than just this.
Yeah, and this is a good example of that. So I want to get you up to speed on what's going on out near Fairview Parkway. This is a rollover crash. It could have been weather-related. You can see we've got some fog, maybe some freezing fog out there. Eastbound 84 right now is lined up from Fairview Parkway all the way back to I-205 at this point. So that's the first issue. The big issue we've been talking, and that was one that developed this morning, right? The other thing that we've been talking about, the big issue is the 84 westbound with the closure. The westbound lineup now has extended all the way out to Fairview. So these cars here that you're seeing on the westbound side of the freeway are basically crawling all the way into the I-205 interchange. And I can back that up here as we show you some of the traffic cameras here. Behind door number 2, I think we'll be able to take you to Gresham and 181st. We're having a little bit of trouble here with the buttons this morning. They're not working so well. But in any event, the one update that we do have that we learned in the last 15 minutes is that I-205 southbound traffic, which as you recall earlier was being diverted onto eastbound 84, that is now flowing through that interchange. So southbound 205 traffic should begin to improve a little bit. We'll certainly keep you posted on that, guys.
Okay, just a little bit of progress there, Chris. Thanks. We want to send it out to Christine Pitawanich. Christine, you're in our mobile unit, which means you are stuck in the mess on I-84.
Well, we were, Ashley, for a long time. I will say we were on I-84 westbound probably for about an hour and a half, and at moments it was like you'd come to a stop, you'd roll a little bit, you'd come to another stop, and it was really, really slow going. Right now, actually, we decided to get another vantage point because we were westbound 84. It's been a while since we've seen what southbound 205 looks like. You just heard Chris talking about how it's freed up a little bit, and I can tell you, I mean, earlier this morning, this area was like a parking lot, but right now, 205 southbound, we just got on from Killingsworth, looking pretty okay. But yeah, earlier this morning it was bumper to bumper traffic. All you saw were brake lights, and for a long time drivers only had the option to divert onto 84 eastbound. I heard Chris talking about it a little bit earlier this morning, and that is why we decided to make our way to this area to see for ourselves and to drive for ourselves, for you guys at home, to give you a peek at fortunately, the cleared up traffic, at least at this point. Still unclear about the police investigation going on 84 westbound and when that'll all come to a close. Although a little bit ago, Portland police did tweet out that they should be done at the earliest 10 a.m. But yeah, as you can see, eastbound 84 looking pretty okay. Looking pretty okay for right now. For now, we're going to send it back to you and continue to monitor the situation. Maybe we'll go ahead and see if westbound 84 is still a parking lot like it was a little bit earlier. Ashley?
Okay, Christine, thank you for that perspective. Good to know. We do want to let you know there are some school cancellations and delays this morning, just with some of the really cold weather and icy conditions out there. We do have those scrolling at the bottom of your screen. Now let's check in with Rod Hill in the Weather Center with more on the forecast.
Hi everybody, Wilbur Bone driving today. Chris has been showing you a little bit of fog in some areas. 26 degrees, mainly clear over Portland. I think we're having problems with but you're looking at the forecast, and we will be back after this. Maybe 10 days or so.
Microphone has issues.
My mic off.
That's okay.
All right, here we go. We are back. Welcome back to the live streams that you can experience one of two ways, on KHW.com or on our KHW TV Facebook page. Lots of people chiming in. You know, it's been a while since we recapped why all this started, Pat. But I do want to point out what we can do during our Facebook live broadcast that we don't normally do during our television broadcast. We can chime in with the viewers.
I love that.
Chris McGinnis, who we're going to see here again in this these live streams in a moment. Chris, you're getting a shout out this morning. One of our faithful Facebook followers, Jill Joy, says, Chris, you are stellar with those Portland road and directional name drops. Killing it, she says.
You can tell.
Nice work.
He's a local guy. He's a local guy, grew up in Northeast Portland. He's nailing it.
So I would
Elementary.
I would actually be, I'm watching Chris do this and going, I would, at some point in time, I'd be confused. East, west, north, south, right, left. There's a lot going on, and we have backups in all different directions. But again, Chris, if you have limited time here, I should probably get to you right now.
Yeah, so I got about a minute and a half, and then we got to run over and do a little radio hit real quick. I wanted to give you an update on what's going out near Fairview. Eastbound I-84, left lane and the center lane still blocked with this rollover crash. The headlights in this shot, that's the eastbound commute on I-84. And that eastbound 84 commute is stacked up all the way now to I-205. So that is a big, big, big mess, right? This is I-84 out near 181st Avenue, and there's the eastbound commute near Gresham. And again, it still looks foggy, maybe some freezing fog there as well. There's the westbound 84 commute, and all these guys are just slowly crawling into the Gateway District. And the reminder, of course, with that is that I-84 is still shut down inside the Gateway District, right, from I-205 to I-5. The update here, and I need to update this graphic, is that I-205 South, which was being diverted onto I-84 eastbound for quite a while this morning, that has now reopened. So that is starting to ease the logjam on I-205 over the Glenn Jackson Bridge out of Clark County, and that is certainly some good news. You can bet, though, that all the detours are still running pretty heavy. I've got more on this. We'll get a look at some more traffic cameras coming up in just a little bit. This is a wild story, guys.
And it's been happening now over the course of many hours, certainly since the start of what would be the normal morning commute. Commuters have dealt with the backups on I-84 and I-205. That hello we hear is the voice of Christine Pitawanich, who has been in this traffic nightmare all morning long. I'm joined here in our studios by Pat Doris.
Good morning.
Pat, the question most people are asking, you can see it on our Facebook live feed right now, is the why. Because some people, you just assume, oh, by this point they know why this is backed up. There are others who get into it and are still wondering, what the heck is going on? Is this weather related?
Exactly.
Is there an accident?
Yeah.
But it's actually a crime scene. I-84 westbound lanes from 205 to downtown turned into a crime scene last night, and that is the scene right there. And Pat, you did a great job a few minutes ago, just kind of giving us a summary of when all this started and how it all started. I'll say simply this. It really began last month with that overnight shooting at a mini mart in Kelso that ended up with the woman behind the counter being shot and killed.
Yeah, it was an awful shooting. It was a robbery, and they were getting what they wanted and still shot and killed the woman. So police, obviously very intent on finding out who's responsible for that, did make an arrest. Here's the clerk who was shot and killed, sadly. They did make an arrest a few days after that, but they said, hey, listen, we know there were more people in the car, and we're going to find them. And so yesterday, late yesterday, they hooked up another person, brought him in, and then they started to go after this second person, and it became a car chase. And that is what you don't want when you're the cops. You want to have things quick and easy and quiet. But this person obviously not interested in doing that. And so it became a car chase out of Vancouver along 205, and then from 205 all the way into I-84 before the police were able to get out in front and really shut it down. The reason I believe 205 was closed is because there was probably gunfire there before it went on to I-84. And the reason that it's open now, I assume through my experience, is that they've got that crime scene buttoned up now. They know everything they need to know about that so they can release it to the traffic again. I-84 is not open because there's still work that they have to do. And it's amazing when they're out there with the crime scene folks. I mean, they take GPS positions of the car was here, there was, you know, a bullet casing here, so that when they go into court, they can make realistic graphics and show the jury. And this may be a year or two from now, because these people, I'm not a grand jury, but I'm sure they'll be charged in the murder. A jury 2 years from now is not going to remember any of this. Right. And so they need to be able to look at all the graphics and the details and have it be exactly correct, because if it's wrong, a defense attorney will get it thrown out. And so that's kind of a long expression of why it takes so long to do all this.
Well, if you're a crook of any means, you're probably wondering, or you're probably saying, I hope people forget. That's like your greatest hope in life. Right. I hope they just forget. Yeah. They can't let it forget, even if the trial, as you mentioned, is years from now. They need to get that evidence today. Am I correct in saying that they probably needed the daylight to help with that investigation, or is that not necessarily true?
It's not always true, but in something this complex, I'm sure it is. I've been at crime scenes where the police have been there overnight, and you walk out and all of a sudden you see a bullet casing, you know, in the shrubbery, and they're out there with flashlights and everything, but it's just not as easy as it is in the daylight. A lot of times where it's on a side street and it might inconvenience one or two people, the police are pretty relaxed about when they're going to get things back open. They let people get their sleep and they come in on their regular shifts. On this, I'm sure you can see the mobile police command unit there going out to the scene, but I'm sure they called everybody who had a pager to come out immediately last night.
Absolutely, and if this was a different time of the year, you know, if this was the middle of summer, they would have gotten help from that daylight earlier than 5 o'clock this morning.
Yep.
We're still in the middle of winter, so we didn't get daylight here until well after 6 a.m. This is the video from last night, the crime scene that unfolded. Pat just did a beautiful job of sort of recapping what happened last night, overnight, in terms of that police shooting and the officer-involved shooting along the highways, two stretches of highway, 205, then 84. This happened around 9 o'clock last night when there were still people out and about, not just in their cars on the freeway. There were people on the overpasses who were just witnessing this whole scene unfold, and we got a lot of witness accounts as to what happened last night during this. But it all goes back to that terrible crime last month in Kelso, where the woman behind the counter at that mini mart in Kelso was shot and killed, and police believe that they found another one of the suspects involved in the shooting that night.
And I'm sure the gunfire in this scene shows just how dangerous these people were and why they didn't call off the chase, because a lot of times they will do that and say, yeah, we know who that guy is, we'll get him tomorrow. But in this case, they stayed on it.
So again, we thank everyone who's been watching us. We've been on now for over an hour on our 2 live streams through KGW.com and our KGW TV Facebook page. Chris McGinnis is back in the fold here this morning with Pat and I with some more traffic updates. Things appear to be getting better, at least in some spots.
In 1 or 2 spots. Okay, so I-205 South, that was just a disaster this morning, right? Because at one point and for a very long time this morning, I-205 was being diverted onto eastbound 84. So all that traffic, and a lot of these folks probably unsuspecting out of Clark County, had no idea what they were getting into other than a parking lot once they arrived, being diverted onto eastbound 84. That's over with. I-205 South has reopened and we're starting to see some improvement. Unfortunately, the ripple effect, and you're looking at some of it, this is I-5 up near Hazeldale, up near 78th, and it's like this all the way down over the interstate bridge through North Portland. Our drive time right now is not quite as bad as a snow day, but it might as well be. It's about 70 minutes to get you in from Main Street south to the Fremont Bridge. So that's one of the ripple effects of this Banfield closure. You got a blue screen there as we switch cameras. I apologize, but there's a live look. Did we lose it again? Let's try it one more time. I-205 South is moving a little bit better now. That's at SR 14. So the drive is starting to ease up a little bit out of Clark County on the east side. The other aspect of this, of course, with the I-84 westbound closure is that trying to get in from the east side of town is a disaster, right? We've got 84 westbound traffic that's stacked up all the way out just about to Troutdale. And to make matters worse, as we take our live camera again, as soon as that pops up, I'd like to get to this. We've got a rollover wreck on eastbound 84 out near Fairview Parkway, and there it goes. You can see that only a couple of cars at a time are trickling eastbound past that rollover crash. It looks like we got some fog, some freezing fog possibly out there. And so that's kind of another facet to complicate the traffic problems this morning. Let's switch gears real quick. Behind door number 2 and door number 3. Looks like my chroma key's just not working real good for me this morning. But in any event, I'll step away here. Just some improvement, but not a lot if you're trying to get in from the east side. We've got Lombard, Columbia Boulevard, Sandy Boulevard, your alternate routes, Powell Boulevard. Those are going to handle extra traffic this morning, and we still haven't heard officially that 84 is going to reopen
anytime soon.
I mean, we heard possibly 10 a.m., but
can we get some clarification? Because earlier we showed that Oregon Department of Transportation tweet, and they were talking about a westbound lane in that area, and you were saying that must be an eastbound lane that was opening up there. Do you remember? You know what I'm referring to?
Yeah, and I think they were referring to this rollover wreck that we're actually looking at live right now in Fairview. That's I-84. This camera is an ODOT camera out near Fairview Parkway, and the headlights in that shot, that's the eastbound commute. So that rollover crash happened between Gresham and Fairview eastbound. The left and the center lanes are still blocked, and unfortunately I'm having a little trouble cycling through the cameras, but I can tell you that the eastbound lineup on I-84 extends from that point that you see all the way back towards I-205.
Wow.
So, I mean, that's complicated. We're talking about 2 big issues here, right? I mean, the huge one, but then this one popped up, which was also pretty huge. And any normal morning, that would be headlining the show. But it's not this morning. In any event, you can also see the westbound side of the freeway.
Wow.
On the right-hand side of your screen.
Yeah.
And that's the lineup all the way from the Gateway District.
That is remarkable.
Well, I know that ODOT has not corrected that tweet. It still stands as it was earlier stated, as it was earlier put out there, that there's one westbound lane open there by Northeast 181st.
And it's possible that there may have been another wreck in there that is somehow being overshadowed by all this other, because there have been some minor fender benders here and there. And when we get into times on the freeway when folks are out there for an hour and a half, 2 hours, and running out of gas, having to run to the bathroom, suddenly people are leaving their car here and there, which don't do that.
Yeah,
it happens.
Right.
One traffic nightmare leads to another. Yes. The bottom line.
Absolutely. And I was looking at my Waze, there's red lines everywhere as people try to find different ways to come in from the east side. And there are, as we mentioned earlier, tens of thousands of people that come into downtown to go to work.
This isn't just the normal, 1,000 people that take Gleason westbound, right? Suddenly, for a while this morning, all of the Vancouver traffic was coming over the Glen Jackson Bridge, was heading down to I-84 thinking, oh, we'll get on the Banfield. No, you won't. You're going to take 84 East, and then you're like, well, now what? Well, now I guess I got to get off the freeway to 122nd, and then you're left for your own devices there to figure out how you're going to get into downtown. The closest option was Gleason, right?
Yep.
Or Halsey. Or Powell to the south. So you get the idea. This is impacting everybody that lives on the east side with at least unusually high traffic volumes on some of the surface streets.
So for the folks who did get to work, be nice, have some coffee ready, maybe walk down and get some pastries, because your coworkers are going to have some stories and they're going to have to talk for a while to get through this.
You know, Chris has the traffic covered for us this morning, and traffic is what is impacting most of the people that are watching here this morning. But there is a story behind this traffic story. If you want to try to get those,
a wild story,
a crazy story last night, we could recap that right now. If you
I'm
need
going
to
to set up the ODOT cameras in
Perfect.
just a second. I'm going to dip out, do a quick radio hit, of course, with our radio partners. We're live all morning on KXL doing traffic updates for those of you that are heading out onto the road. We do that on the 7s all mornings and all afternoons.
He's the man.
So Tuesday morning, that's yesterday morning, traffic was a situation around town because of the weather. Again, if you're just waking up or if you're heading out the door, this has nothing to do with weather. This is a police presence on I-84 westbound lanes, all shut down from 205 to I-5. In other words, people could not use the Banfield to get into downtown Portland today, especially all those people that come in from Vancouver that usually go 205 south to I-84 west. They could not get on I-84, Pat. And we're already starting to show some of the video that speaks to the story last night if you want to pick it up from there.
Well, it was a remarkable thing. It sounds like a Wild West shootout.
Right.
Police were after this guy that they believe was involved in the murder of the Kelso clerk that we were just showing you there a few minutes ago. And as they tried to make the stop up in the Vancouver area, the guy took off. There may have been more than one person in the car. They came down 205 and then into I-84. And tell me, producer, is this the man who was arrested?
That was one of the people involved in last night's chase.
Okay.
We don't know if he is believed to be the getaway driver in the crime in Kelso last month, or just someone else who was in the car. But that is definitely one of the people involved in last night's chase with the police from Vancouver and Portland. Okay,
well, and we'll let the district attorney's office tell us what the charges are and all that. But the point is, that's the person they were trying to arrest, and it didn't go well. And I'm sure the police will tell us later today, listen, this is evidence of why we needed to continue this chase, because a lot of times when speeds get up and police are worried that, hey, there's a lot of traffic and this could get dangerous, they'll just call it off and say, you know, we'll see you tomorrow morning at 3 a.m. while you're asleep. We'll just come knock your door down.
Right.
But in this case, they stayed on it, and they're going to say, I'm sure, this is why. Lots of gunfire and lots of very dangerous stuff going on. I think there was one police officer that was sent to the hospital, non-life-threatening, thankfully, but it shows you how dangerous that job is as well, and how, you know, no routine stop is routine. And they were saying that one of the people in the car was injured, and it wasn't related to gunshots either. So the question is, you know, well, how did he get hurt? He was seriously hurt, and was it from crashing? Was it, you know, was it something that happened earlier that night before he got into the car? So there was a lot behind this story, and obviously they want to get to the bottom of this terrible crime that happened last month in Kelso, where that young woman was shot and killed behind the counter of the mini mart there. I got to believe, you know, Pat, you know from your experience in covering stories like this through the years, the last thing police want to have happen is to have a chase spill out onto a major freeway like this. I mean, they want to keep that happening from at all costs, because ultimately it leads to something like this. Absolutely. Now they have to shut that whole stretch of freeway down to do the investigation this morning, and it's impacted tens of thousands of people who we hope will be understanding to why this all went down. Yeah, now this is video earlier of the backup, and you see it was just nasty in both directions. But when you shut down in a major U.S. city, a major interstate coming into downtown for hours and hours and hours, that is going to be a nightmare that is right up there with any that we've seen. A few years ago, Highway 26 going west up past the zoo was gridlocked. People were stuck there for 6 hours. I'm not laughing because it was funny. I'm laughing because it was unbelievable. But I'm sure that people are going to have similar stories this morning. They're not being stuck for 6 hours, but you're having to bail off into city streets and do a lot of things that you didn't expect. And you've got lots of company when that happens. So yeah, this is unprecedented. Well, people want to be critical, right? And they're going to be critical of the city and say, hey, well, look what happens when we have to shut down one stretch of road. Look at the mess it creates. But like you said, Pat, you go to any major city across this country, if you shut down one of their two largest ways to get into the heart of that city, it's going to cause problems. Oh, anytime, and especially during rush hour. Fortunately, as you mentioned, there were lots and lots of people that were out on the overpasses and sort of available to see all this stuff as it went down. It amazes me that, and thankfully, nobody else was hurt and nobody else was killed, because, you know, those bullets don't know where they're going. They just start out where you point them.
And I probably missed this, but and maybe it's too early in the investigation, but have we heard just how many shots were fired at this point?
Haven't.
Do we have any idea? I mean, was it you know, boom, 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 or was it like massive exchange of We're assuming everything at this point in terms of who was firing when and how often.
But we do have Christine. This much I can tell you, Chris McGinnis. We have Christine Pitawanich in Drive 8 for us this morning. Christine, it's been a while since we saw Drive 8 driving this fast, in hours as a matter of fact. Where are you headed right now and how fast are you traveling?
Right now, we're going about 45 miles an hour, eastbound 84. I don't know if you can see it, but if you look at westbound traffic, it is still bumper to bumper. It's still pretty heavy. Westbound 84 approaching the 205 interchange. We decided to head this way because southbound 205, that was looking good because now drivers don't have to divert onto 84 eastbound. They can keep on going right through 205 southbound. So that's easing up traffic for people who typically use 205 southbound. I'm looking at 122nd Avenue. Earlier this morning, a lot of people backed up here on eastbound 84 trying to get off at 122nd Avenue because that was like the first place they could get off because they had been diverted onto 84 eastbound. But yeah, so now we're just checking things out, and for now at least, it looks like the trouble spot seems to still be westbound 84 as it approaches, of course, the I-205 interchange. Of course, that's because police still investigating on I-84 westbound. That stretch still closed between 205 and I-5. Sorry, Chris?
Question here. As I see you going eastbound on I-84, it looks like you're about to hit the back end of that lineup of that rollover crash that's out near Fairview Parkway. So at this point, it looks like you're hitting kind of traffic alert number 2 this morning. And we've got 2, 3, 4 miles now of eastbound 84 that's parked. And I'm kind of, how fast are you moving now? Can you give us a little play-by-play of what you're seeing directly in front of you?
10.
Yeah, we're going about 10, 15 miles an hour now. And literally right when you asked me that question, I thought to myself, well, we're starting to slow down a little bit. So good to know why we're hitting this little second wind of traffic. Next chance we get, maybe we'll try to get off. But, you know, even if we do get off of I-84 eastbound, if we get back on I-84 westbound, it's going to be a nightmare because lots and lots of traffic
Surface
still backed up as people
you.
Get diverted onto either 205 north or 205 south.
And one of the other, and Christine, thank you very much for that reporting. Christine was, of course, stuck in that backup on I-205 for a while. The southbound commute, everybody coming out of Clark County this morning was being, as she mentioned, shunted over to I-84. That has alleviated, but 84 westbound is still parked. And here's one of the other issues, guys. Can we maybe go back to the traffic map for a second? I-84, you know, once you get past Gresham, once you get past 181st, one of the great things, or not great things about our freeway system, you don't have another exit until you get to I-205. So basically, you are stuck on the freeway if you get past 181st, and so all that westbound traffic is still stacked up. And now that we're back to the weather wall, can we take Fairview? Yes, in fact, that's exactly where I wanted to go. Thank you. We're going to get out to that in a second. Here's what westbound 84 looks like at 122nd. That again, because of the 84 situation in the Banfield. This is what Christine Pitawanich is headed out to here, and she's going to be running into that backup. She kind of already is on eastbound 84. This is Fairview Parkway. This is near the Fairview Parkway overpass, and the headlights in this shot, that's the eastbound I-84 commute. One, it looks a little foggy. Maybe we've got some freezing fog out there, and you can see that with the rollover crash, we still have the eastbound left and center lanes closed. So that now has eastbound I-84 stacked up for a good 3 miles or so. I want to see what we look like behind door number 3. I think I've got a shot from 181st queued up. We're having a little difficulty with the chroma wall here, but in any event, the eastbound commute, and that's why we asked Christine, hey, you know, what's it looking like out there? Because she's going to give us the driver's eye view from Drive 8. But,
and that's just a bonus, right? That's a bonus problem.
Yeah, that's
today.
like, you know, on any other morning, we would be headlining with that because that is a huge problem for the eastbound 84 commute. But, you know, when you got the westbound Banfield closed,
I got what I needed to say.
That's the big deal for sure.
Once in a while, you can hear Christine Pitawanich, her voice in the background here, as she continues to be in the passenger seat of that shot right there. That is the look from inside our Drive 8, looking out onto the freeway this morning. Christine was in the clear there for a while. She and her photographer, Dave Angier, who's behind the wheel of Drive 8, a great tool that we have to cover traffic situations like this. They were in the clear, actually saw speeds of 45 miles per hour at one point there, Pat, but obviously she is back into that congestion once again and not moving very fast at all. It is still the Wednesday morning commute. It's the commute that seems to have been going on for 12 to 15 hours at this point. We're only really in hour number 2 or 3, if you will, depending on when you normally leave your house in the morning. But man, so many people are still a ways away from getting where they need to be if they are trying to get into downtown Portland this morning.
And you know what I hear in my ear? This is why you should ride your bike to work.
And you've done that.
Not very often, but yeah, a lot of people do, and those folks are all glad. But this is just unbelievable. And it's sort of, as you were talking about Christine going fast and now slow, it sort of reminded me like of a false summit as you're climbing something. You, oh, yes. Hey, and I'm sure that there are thousands of commuters going through this. Everything's good. Sorry, no, they're not.
And like you said, I mean, we've seen traffic situations similar to this. I mean, every situation is a little different, but we've had enough snowfalls that have caught us by surprise here in the Portland area, and people are at work and they try to get out and everyone tries to go home at once, and we see these hours-long commutes. This is definitely unique in that this is not weather related. This is not accident related. This all stems from a police investigation that's happening along I-84. The westbound lane shut down from I-205 to I-5 because of an investigation stemming from a police chase and a shooting last night into this morning. So again, the Banfield, not an option for so many, literally tens of thousands of people who take that stretch of road every day to get into downtown. It wasn't an option this morning, and those westbound lanes continue to be shut down as that police investigation continues. We're doing all of this right now on 2 platforms, our KGW website, our main KGW Facebook page, so you can watch us live either way right now, but we're also continuing to do our live updates for the Today Show here in our studio. So Ashley Korsland, once again, entering the studio this morning. She is 2 minutes away from a live television broadcast.
How about that?
Television broadcast, Pat Doris. We do these every morning, of course. If you're not familiar, we have a few minutes within each half hour during the Today Show where we can update our viewers on local news, weather, and traffic. These updates are going a little bit longer today because of this breaking news.
Yeah, and it's a huge, long crime scene there on I-84, and that's why they shut it down from 205 to I-5. And you know, it's not like people can't figure out another way to get there. Remember when ODOT was talking about, hey, we're going to have to be doing work on these flyover ramps that they were doing in the summer? They gave lots of advance notice on that, and the traffic, it was kind of bad, but it wasn't awful. But when something hits like this, and it's sudden and, you know, unexpected, like you mentioned, a weather event, which probably still a lot of people are thinking, is there ice on the road? Can't they put salt? No, there's no ice. There's bullet casings, and there's smashed up cars, and there's a huge crime scene, and that's why the entire thing is closed. And when I've asked the police in the past, hey, how long is this going to take? I know they're saying we hope to be done by 10 a.m., but what they're really thinking is it's going to take as long as it takes.
You know, we're talking about tens of thousands of people trying to make that commute into Portland. Even if 70% of that number knew about this on their way in and had a plan in place, you know, 30% of tens of thousands is still a large number. Yeah. And if they're hitting this without any warning, then, like you said, they didn't plan for an alternate route. They got into it, and that backup built up quickly.
Yep. And when we've seen in the storm coverage out in the gorge or whatever, if people get stuck, the process to get folks off of a closed freeway is pretty intricate. I mean, you get the people at the back of the pack and you turn them around and you drive them up the on-ramps, and that just keeps happening over and over and over again, so that eventually you have that cleared off space. But that space is not open for anybody.
Have been tracking breaking news this morning on the closure of I-84 westbound into Portland, and boy, is it a mess today. The interstate is shut down from I-205 to I-5 heading into Portland, and that backup has been going on for miles and for hours. Take a look at what things look like from Sky 8. This video was taken about an hour ago. Portland police telling us the closure is expected to last about another hour and a half at least. They're saying until 10 o'clock this morning. That could obviously all change. Good morning on this Wednesday. I'm Ashley Korsland. Now, this whole thing is because of an ongoing police investigation near the Lloyd Center. It started actually last night. We're going to get to details on that in just a minute. But first, let's get out to Chris McGinnis with what this means for your drive this morning.
Well, it means that we've got a huge mess continuing on the east side. And if you've been kind of dipping in and out of our coverage, one of the updates we got in the last hour is that, and this is some good news, that I-205 southbound has reopened at the 84 interchange. If you recall some of that video that we showed you from Sky 8 just a few minutes ago, for a while, late last night, early this morning, traffic coming out of Clark County heading on I-205 was being funneled to eastbound 84. That's over with. So that's the good news that we have. The bad news is that the backups continue on 84 all east to 205, and both directions are having trouble. So let's break down what we're looking at here. Again, both directions running heavy. The Banfield I-84 westbound is still closed from Gateway to downtown. And you can see as we go through our traffic cameras that the lineups continue well into East Portland. And our trouble, it looks like we lost that camera, but behind door number 4 should be a look at the trouble spot out near Fairview. Okay, this is live from Fairview Parkway. This is the ODOT camera out at 181st, or excuse me, Fairview Parkway, looking at I-84. The mess that you see there in the middle of your screen, that's a rollover crash on eastbound I-84 prior to Fairview Parkway, and you can see that only the far right lane is getting by, so that is stacking up the eastbound 84 commute through Gresham and all the way back into Northeast Portland, back towards I-205. So that's the big mess. And here you can see some of the westbound lineup. Ashley, drivers coming in from the Gorge, from Wood Village, from Troutdale, from Fairview are encountering this, and know this, that as you come inbound, you can only, 181st is the last opportunity to get off the freeway before you hit that huge lineup, and then you're stuck in it all the way to I-205. So get off the freeway, or don't get on the freeway for starters, is probably the best advice right now.
All right, Chris, thank you very much. Well, you might be wondering how this whole thing started. Well, it was due to a police chase last night that spilled from Vancouver into Portland across state lines. There was even a shootout on the interstate. Let's get out to our Tim Gordon, who is breaking things down. Tim, tell us what you know.
All right, Ashley, well, first of all, we'll give you a good look because we've got a great perspective on where the pursuit ended. We're on Holiday, which runs just on the south side of Interstate 84, and you can see out there the police on the pavement, the truck there that was involved in the pursuit that the suspects were in. It's badly damaged, tires blown out, glass busted out of it as well. And so that's the scene down there. You also see some yellow evidence markers on the pavement that are there now that weren't there in the dark pre-dawn hours this morning when we were here. So I think part of what's happened here is that these police investigators have needed the daylight to do the remainder of their work, and that's why we've still got the closure. We're still waiting to hear more details about why we got the closure from Portland Police, but that's my summation as to why this is taking so long, frankly. 12 hours now since this started. Police still out here on the pavement. I-84 westbound shut down. You see the traffic going eastbound is doing just fine. So let's take you to the video now and show you after this chase ended last night in the 8 o'clock hour. There were a lot of police out here. Just amazing. Dozens of units out here, lights flashing. One of the 2 men taken into custody from that truck has injuries. We're told that he may not survive, critical injuries. But we're told the injuries are not from gunfire. So we'd like to know how he was injured like that. And one Vancouver officer has minor injuries. He should be okay. Part of the reason this is such a big investigation and scene is because of all the agencies involved. You think about it, Vancouver Police, of course, involved in the pursuit down into Portland. Portland involved because they became a part of the chase as well into our city here. Kelso Police also have an interest in all of this. Remember, it's connected to the murder last month of Kayla Chapman. She's a Kelso store clerk who was shot and killed during a robbery up there. Police already had arrested the alleged shooter in that. But they say 23-year-old Erickson Bossy, who we're showing you now, is connected to the murder. Police actually say he was the alleged getaway driver from that robbery murder up in Kelso, now arrested after that pursuit last night. And also part of this investigation, I can tell you, Vancouver Police arrested another individual they say is connected to that homicide in Kelso. They arrested him yesterday afternoon in Vancouver. But this is the headline this morning. Obviously, what a mess. I-84 just shut down westbound. The critical commute time for a lot of tens of thousands of people who want to get into the city to go to work, and Chris has described that so well. But we really want to show you the problem here. And again, we have tried to contact Portland Police. We've not heard back from them yet to kind of explain why it's taken so long for this to be opened up. Again, I think part of it is they're using the daylight now to complete their investigation and gather evidence. Ashley, back to you.
Yeah, Tim, lots of pieces to kind of put together between 2 states, so thank you for the update. Well, let's, for the latest actually on this, stay tuned right here at KGW.com and on KGW throughout the day. We will have updates. Now we want to send things over to meteorologist Rod Hill and get a look at that forecast today.
Well, thank goodness we don't have any weather headaches. You know, we've been watching icy spots mainly on the east side of getting up into the Cascade and the Gorge foothills, where we've had some school delays and even maybe some closures, I think we reported. But here in town, no issues. 29 degrees right now. Plenty of sunshine throughout the day, 36 at noon. We have a chance to go as warm as 40. We'll be really cold again tonight, back down to about 23 degrees. Tomorrow dry, 43. Friday morning, if we have some light moisture, it could be a wintry mix. Otherwise, this looks like it's rain Friday night. Saturday morning might be rain to start. But one forecast model really likes a major snowstorm Saturday night into Sunday morning. Somebody says major, you think a foot? That's what I'm thinking too, as a possibility. We'll have the latest update on that on the noon news here on KGW.
And we're back live at Facebook Live at KGW.com. Of this massive problem, westbound Interstate 84, one of the main routes into downtown Portland, closed as it has been for much of the night. And take a look at that flyway right in the middle of your screen there, empty. And that's usually where people who are coming into town from I-84 get on I-5 north or south. It's typically very, very busy at this time of day, empty. And the only other time really that we've seen this recently was over the summer when ODOT crews were working on that. Of course, that was announced well in advance, and this is just happening as a result of this police action overnight. If you're in a safe place, if you've arrived at work already, or if you're able to see what's going on outside your window, we'd love to hear from you. Let us know on Facebook Live. Just post some of your updates there. We have heard from Jill Joyce, who's out at 76th and East Burnside. She said outside her window, West Burnside is gridlock, which totally makes sense because people trying to bail off and still get into town know that Burnside is a good route to come in, but it's not a very fast route this morning because there are tens of thousands of you trying to do that. So the reason that we're staying on for a little bit longer and doing this Facebook Live is so you get an idea of what's happening. Hopefully, if you have not headed out the door yet, you're able to start of plan another way to get in because police say this is going to be closed probably for another hour and a half. So until 10 this morning. Tim Gordon is our man on the scene. He's been out there live for quite a bit of the morning. And Tim, I know you've been to many crime scenes, as have I. I'm really shocked by the condition of that truck out there. That looks like that was a very violent end to the pursuit. What do you think?
Yeah, I think so too, Pat. And we can actually get you a look at that. If we could, Chad, give you a look at the truck out there. You're right. And, you know, I'm trying to figure out, we need some answers on this, but I noticed from just east of here, when we came across the overpass just east of here and looked out on the freeway, I saw skid marks into the center median. I don't know if they're the trucks, but there's quite a bit of front end damage as well, Pat. And so I'm wondering if the truck actually hit the center median and then ended up over on the right shoulder over there. But, you know, the tires are blown out too, whether they were shot out or spike strips were used. We're still waiting for that kind of information from police. Windows are blown out. The windshield's in place, but the side windows are blown out. Now, I don't know if they were knocked out by batons when police got to the truck, as they might do to get to the suspects inside. You know, we need some answers on that. But yeah, that truck is a mess, Pat, no doubt about it. And it's sitting out there on the shoulder of the interstate, westbound closed, just 12 hours or so since it happened here.
Yes, we should tell them this started as a police chase in the Vancouver area last night. Police were trying to make an arrest connected to the murder of a convenience store clerk in Kelso a couple of weeks ago. And during the chase, there were shots fired. You can see this is the end result. Massive response from emergency responders and then a lot of civilians caught up in it in the traffic mess there. But as police were trying to make the arrest, they tell us that there were shots fired, and they have not told us whether officers returned fire or not. You can see investigators, this again was overnight as they're looking at the truck. But typically we'll see if there's a vehicle that's running. This is the convenience store clerk who was killed in that murder and robbery. And it was just so senseless from what we know. The robber had already gotten what they wanted and still shot and killed the clerk. So, but what I was going to say is typically when police chases get dangerous, they'll just call them off. They don't zip through the city anymore because they don't want to hurt any innocent bystanders. But I think it's clear they felt this was so dangerous that this could not be called off, and this really had to be stopped now, because if you call it off and then something awful happens because these people do something down the road, then everybody says, why didn't you protect us?
A lot of questions, and
Yeah.
hopefully we'll get some of those answers this morning. And they're working on getting those answers, which is why the Banfield is still shut down, right?
Yep.
And we've been saying that the latest update that we have heard from Portland police is that maybe we get that reopen at 10 a.m.
Maybe.
What that also means maybe not. So in any event, what you're looking at right now is I-84 out near 148th Avenue. And the problem on both sides of the freeway is this, right? Westbound 84, as we know, has been stacked up for a while, has been stacked up all morning because of the Banfield closure inside the Gateway District. But the eastbound commute that popped up in the last 2 hours or so is because of a rollover crash out near Fairview Parkway. And as we take door number 4 here, hopefully I can bring up I-84 out near Fairview Parkway. There you go. It looks like, and this is literally in the last 2-3 minutes, it looks like now we finally have the left and the center lanes reopened. So that should help to ease some of this logjam, which has been here for 2 hours on the eastbound side of the freeway. But in any event, you can see that it's still pretty slow trying to get in trying to get out from Gresham, heading east out towards Troutdale and Wood Village and into the Gorge because of that situation. One of the other things, I mean, lost in all this, I mean, we were anticipating some weather coverage this morning. There's probably a little fog and freezing fog out there on the east side of town as well. So that's another thing that commuters are dealing with out there. But in any event, it looks like the eastbound congestion may be starting to ease just a little bit, but the westbound commute's still going to be stacked up for a while. Anybody that gets on the freeway on I-84 westbound coming in from the Gresham area, once you get inside of 181st, you're stuck. You're going to have to go all the way to I-205, and then you're either going to take north or southbound 205 and then figure it out from there. And that means Columbia Boulevard, Killingsworth, Sandy, Powell Boulevard, which I can tell you is extra thick this morning with the traffic.
We've heard Burnside is very busy.
Burnside can't be good. And to add insult to injury over on the west side, I can just imagine somebody in Vancouver that sat in that backup, that finally got where they're going, that finally got on the Sunset, that finally headed west. We got a crash on the westbound Sunset out near Cedar Hills Boulevard. Westbound Highway 26 is backing up around that.
What a day.
Not a great day.
Yeah, yeah. When you get to work safely, send us a message on Facebook Live. Tell us how it was, because we do want to hear your stories. We know there's a lot going on.
Yeah, lots going on this morning.
Thank you, Chris. That's why Chris is one of the best guys I've ever worked with on weather, bar none. He knows it.
Thank you, sir.
Local guy. You got it
sir.
down.
I'm going to let you negotiate for me now.
We're going to get you a big raise. Let's go back out to Tim Gordon, one of the other awesome reporters that we get to work with here at KGW. Tim, what's the latest there, and what are your thoughts on what you're seeing?
Yeah, you know, Pat, they're putting away some of their equipment. They had a surveying equipment. You know, they've got that deal that can kind of do a 360 view and put everything in its place at a crime scene. And they had that out on a tripod. They just put that away. And I'll step out of the way. We could continue to talk, but I think Chad's actually going to get off the sticks there and get off our own tripod and show you what we've got. You see the officer there at the truck that was involved in this pursuit. And you're right, Pat. We talked about this a little while ago. It's messed up. It may or may not have hit the Jersey barrier and ended up over there, but that's where police were able to get the two suspects out. Now, one of them was critically injured. We're told life-threatening injuries, but they weren't from gunshots. We know that there was a rolling gunfight coming between Vancouver police pursuing this truck down from Vancouver to get to this point, and with shots being fired back from someone in the truck. So this was an extremely dangerous situation. But again, the suspect who was critically injured wasn't injured by gunfire. So it's an interesting point to make. But you can see that the result there, the windows are busted out. Officers looking at the truck that's on the side of the road there. But Pat, you could just imagine, to pick up a point you made earlier, Pat, as well, that a lot of times pursuits are called off because they're so dangerous. But in this case, they kept it going. And think about it. I mean, the shots are being fired from this truck at a police officer in pursuit. It's pretty hard to let that one go because you've got a very dangerous situation with these guys, whether they're being pursued or not.
Right, Tim, and these are live pictures we're seeing of the officers looking inside the car there. Is that correct?
Yeah, this is a live shot. That's westbound I-84. You see two officers down there looking in the truck right now. The door's been open on the truck since we've been here since 4 in the morning, and it's been open like that. But yeah, they're looking it over. These are, they're members of the traffic division, major crash team out here. Obviously, other forensic investigators and detectives are involved in this one, and not just Portland police, but Vancouver and Kelso police are all interested in the results of this. Now, Portland police are the lead investigators on it. But yeah, you see them out there looking at the truck a little more closely than we've seen them do so far this morning.
Yeah, and
they're going to walk away from it.
This may
they're able to, yeah, go ahead.
Well, these could be the new officers coming in on shift and just wanting to get kind of a look at what's going on. And I think sometimes people wonder, well, why are you leaving the truck there so long? Why does this all take so long? Part of it, I think, is because they need to get a search warrant. They have to find a judge. They have to have probable cause. Because this is somebody's property, and so the constitutional rights still are in play. So they have to get a judge that says, yes, there is probable cause to believe that there's evidence of a crime. It can be found there inside the truck. So let's sign this off here, and then it's a matter of getting a tow company to come in, and they'll take it to a secure lockup where the forensic people will go over it with a fine-tooth comb. But for the time being, it's part of the crime scene there. Go ahead.
Absolutely, and it's one of the factors in making this such a long time to have the interstate westbound lanes closed like this is that it could be possibly they're waiting to get a judge to sign the search warrant so they can look more closely at the truck. It's because it's such a crime scene, large crime scene is spread out from Vancouver to here. That's why 205 was shut down, the southbound section there, just above the 84 interchange, because there were shots fired up there, I believe. So that's part of the investigation as well. And all the different agencies involved, all that takes time. But I know there's a whole lot of people, tens of thousands of commuters that use this to get into Portland in the morning who are saying, well, okay, but wake the judge up, get the search warrant, light the thing up so you can maybe do your work without daylight. That's all armchair quarterbacking, obviously.
Right.
These guys or gals are working hard out here to get it done. Well, but it's got to be frustrating if you're a commuter to see it close like this.
Sure, and the justice system does not close down overnight. I'm sure there's an on-call judge that probably somebody talked to shortly after this ended, but it does take time to get everything going. And that's interesting, that van driving through there. What's that, Tim? Is that a crime scene van? Maybe you're not able to see.
That's a traffic division major crash team.
Okay.
If you can see that, it's the major crash team van. And I think they're maybe going to be pulling it over by the truck. I'm not sure if they're going to block our view or if they're just going to pull behind it, or if it's
yeah, a lot of times, they come out with the video cameras and the still cameras and some of that GPS measurement that you've talked about. So we'd love to hear from you folks if you're watching this on Facebook Live or KGW.com. We have heard from Michelle Sakara, who is making a point that I think probably a lot of people are feeling this morning, which is, doggone it, Portland needs more roads, and this is evidence of that. Not that I'm saying that I agree with that, but I definitely know that that's a feeling that's out there. Mindy Merritt is saying, so sad, so crazy. James Brown is wondering, could this be some sort of a gang initiation? James, on that, I'm going to go out on a short limb and say no. This was the result of police trying to arrest somebody that they believed was involved in the murder of a Kelso convenience store clerk a couple of weeks ago. And that person did not want to be stopped, and that was the result of the chase and then the arrest. This man, Erkinson Bossi, is the one that police have told us they were after, and they have made the arrest. We've not heard any charges on him or any conditions, or even how police were able to find out or suspect that he was involved in this. When the shooting happened, they said, we believe that there's more than just the gunman. We believe there were other people in the car, and we're going to find them. And a few days after that, they did arrest the man they said was the gunman. And now last night they made a second arrest, and this was the result of them trying to make the third arrest. But it really is astounding to me, Tim, and remarkable how this has been closed for so long.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Tim.
No doubt. And I just wanted to let you know, too, there was actually a third arrest of someone connected to this robbery murder up in Kelso. Vancouver police arrested another young man in the city of Vancouver yesterday afternoon in the 3 o'clock hour without incident, apparently. It's certainly nothing like this. And then it was after that at 7:30 last night that the pursuit began of this individual. So now 3 arrests in this thing. And, I just want to bring it back to that that awful early morning in Kelso where Kayla Chapman, the store clerk at that Texaco station in Mini Mart, was shot dead, allegedly by a robber who came in and reading the court paperwork on that, he allegedly cocked the gun once and tried to fire. It didn't work, so he rechecked it. Kayla gave him everything he wanted, cash and cigarettes, and then he allegedly shot her anyway and killed her. So, and a lot of people up there grieving her loss. She was a bright light. She just turned 30 years old. She was loved by a lot of people. And that's where this all started. And that's the human side of this. And now we've got another, you know, awful thing happening here with a pursuit with guns fired and a big traffic mess this morning. It's all started up there in Kelso, though, a couple weeks ago.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. We are still getting comments coming in on Facebook Live. Riley is one of many who maybe are just tuning in saying, okay, what part of I-84 is closed? And it's
the Banfield.
The Banfield, which is westbound coming into downtown.
From I-205.
Yeah, this is Chris McGinnis, everybody.
To downtown, yeah, 84. So yeah, we say the Banfield a lot, so let's name our freeways. 84. Right. The Banfield refers to the section of 84 between I-5 and I-205. It's westbound I-84, the Banfield westbound is closed, and we're hearing until at least 10 a.m.
Wow.
And so remember that closes all the on-ramps from, you know, North Tabor and from Hollywood, et cetera. You can't get on the freeway westbound. That means Gleason and Halsey and Powell Boulevard are all handling extra westbound traffic this morning. We have some ripple effects as well from this 84 closure. Let's get to the traffic map here, because I-5 out of Clark County is terrible this morning. I mean, it's 9 o'clock, or we're coming up on 9 o'clock, and we are still lined up into Hazeldale. We'll go to the traffic map and we'll zoom in and show you all the red areas. I-205 westbound, you're lined up out to Fisher's Landing. It's 15 miles an hour for a few miles trying to get to I-205 this morning. Farther west, we're plugged up a good couple of miles trying to get to I-5, and of course the red line out of Clark County here on I-5 southbound, trickling along southbound at about 4 miles an hour south of Hazeldale to the Interstate Bridge. This is what I-5 southbound looks like near 78th Street in Hazeldale. And if I can show you the camera at 99th, which I can't, unfortunately, but it looks like this all the way back almost to 99th Street in Clark County in Vancouver. Here we are at SR 500. Here we are as we get a little closer to SR 14 and the Interstate Bridge. If you're leaving Clark County right now and you don't have to use the Banfield, use 205. 205 is actually in much better shape. I know we were telling people to avoid that earlier because 205 South was kind of involved in this whole mess. That's over with. That part of the nightmare is done with. But I-5 now is just brutal. And keep in mind, this is only from Main Street, this drive time, so you can tack on at least another 30 to get you in from 99th down to the Fremont Bridge. So it's just a big, big mess. Again, 84 westbound continues to be closed from 205 to I-5, and we're hoping that 10 a.m. estimate is hopefully Portland police will be able to make good on that, but no promises. I do have one other trouble spot here, so let's quickly go out to the west side. Pat, I mentioned this just a few minutes ago with our update, and I can just imagine the poor folks from Vancouver that maybe sat through all that mess just to get to the Sunset westbound, just to sit in another lineup. You're looking live at Cedar Hills Boulevard. We had a wreck there at the end of the Cedar Hills Boulevard on-ramp, and so that's the westbound commute. The eastbound commuters have a nice problem this morning. Sunshine, sun glare. So they got that going for them, but wow. In any event.
All those people heading out to Intel and Nike.
They're late. Anyone heading into downtown from Clark County, late this morning, and as you mentioned, just be nice to them.
I thought you were going to say if you're just heading out, call in advance. Call in advance, tell them it's going to take you 90 minutes, and then be nice when you arrive.
Yes, be extra nice. And it looks like we are going back to Tim Gordon's live shot.
Right, they're getting ready to hook up the car and tow it away to the impound lot where police will be examining it.
So I got to think that means that maybe we're on schedule for that 10 a.m. reopening.
I would guess that's right.
Cross our fingers on that.
Because this is obviously a real big piece that they're going to get out of the way. And typically when we've seen these at crime scenes, you get the big stuff out of the way, you pick up the little pieces, everybody checks their punch list, and off you go. So that is good news indeed. Man, what a morning it's been.
Yep.
Tens of
Pat, can you guys
thousands of
hear
cars
me?
a day impacted by this. Yeah. Hey,
go ahead, Tim.
Hey, I just want to tell you, besides the tow truck here now, also the mobile command center, we've got somebody behind the driver's seat. The only police cruiser left out here looks like it's getting ready to depart. So I think this thing's going to break. There are a couple other vehicles to the east of us here. Looks like they're gearing up to leave as well. I think Chad could show you around and show you the different vehicles that look like they're preparing to
right
break
there?
away. So
Zoom out a little bit, Chad.
Pan right if you would, Chad, and show them there's cars down at the far end there. We've got a couple there kicking a few things out of the way, but these are the last units out here, and they're going to have this truck on the tow in the next 5 to 7 minutes, I bet. And hopefully within 10 or 15, we'll get this thing reopened. But everybody's behind the driver's seat of the police units just about at this point. There goes the mobile command centers heading out now over here. So I think this thing is looking like a wrap pretty soon. That's going to be great news to get it back open, guys.
That is a good sign. You know, ODOT was telling me when I covered one of these storms that for every minute that a road is closed, it creates about a 10-minute backup.
Yeah,
so
per
I think,
lane.
Yeah.
So a lane closure, so multiply that by 3 lanes, and well,
it'll be open tomorrow.
Well, at this point, hopefully enough people have gotten word that when it does reopen, it'll be like, you know, the dam burst coming in from I-205. Remember, the speed limit there is 50, I think. So don't easy on the putting the pedal down.
And we're not laughing because we think it's funny. It's just, oh my gosh, what a brutal morning.
We've been on the air covering this all morning since it happened, since late last night. In fact, it's just a wild story, which I'm sure we all really look forward to hearing.
I'm sure the police will be briefing us later today, kind of giving us at least the blow-by-blow that they can offer.
And Pat, I'm going to slip out for a minute because, of course, we've got to handle some radio duties here, and we'll be back just to kind of wrap up the traffic cameras in just a few minutes.
Thanks, Chris. He's been the true north all morning long, telling you where the problems are, how to get around them, and exactly what to expect. You're looking live at this pickup that was part of the chase and shootout last night with police on Interstate 84 from 205 into downtown Portland. The entire stretch of that interstate there has been closed ever since as police work to button up the investigation on what happened when and where. And now we finally see that there's a tow truck there getting ready to take it up. We're going to switch over to Ashley Korsland here in a couple of minutes as she does our live cut in on the TV side. We wanted to make sure that you had the information that was the latest here on KGW.com and on Facebook Live. Gloria Morton is asking, what state is this in? Well, if you're watching from somewhere outside of Oregon, it's in the great state of Oregon. And this is a major inbound commute road for Portland, Oregon, and it is at a standstill. James Kofalik is saying that's just tragic. Riley is thanking us for letting him know where the backup was, so that he said it's really going to mess up my day. Hopefully just your commute, right? But if you have gotten to work, why don't you let us know on Facebook Live what your commute was like, because this has really been a remarkable morning. And Tim, what are you seeing there as the pickup gets towed up onto the flatbed there?
Right, well, one of 2 remaining police vehicles just left, so we're down to 1. And you see the tow truck here. He's kind of repositioning it. He's got to get it up on there just right. Hey, one thing we're noticing, too, if you look at the back left side of the bed of the truck here, there's holes in the side of it. They're bullet holes, sure looks like. So this was a truck that was involved in a very dangerous interaction with police. A high-speed chase, bullets flying in both directions. Bullets being shot from a gun out of this truck. The officer responding with gunfire of his own, his or her own, and that was out of Vancouver and down to here. And here we are, just less than a mile from downtown Portland on westbound 84. And this tow truck driver's kind of the final piece, Pat, as he gets this thing on board and gets it out of here. We'll be able to reopen this interstate section that is so critical for the commute. And I'm going to say, they're going to get it done before 10 a.m. as they suggested it might be 10. They're going to get it done a little early, so that's good.
The thing is, say it's 10 and then over deliver. Hopefully you get the interstate open by 9:30 or so. But we got to remember a lot of the damage to the commute has already been done as people try to get out on the road at 8 a.m. and get in there. By the way, Gloria Morton has said, thanks for the update. I live in Niceville, Florida. That sounds nice. You know what else is nice? Ashley Korsland coming in for our live update. Here you go.
It is 8:59. Good morning. We want to check in on breaking news right now. In the last couple minutes, there have been some developments on what's happening on I-84 westbound between I-205 and I-5. Now, remember, this has been closed for more than 12 hours. And Again, in just the last few minutes, it looks like traffic is starting to get by in that area. We are working to get in touch with Portland Police to see more about their timeline, because you remember initially they said that I-84 would be opening around 10 o'clock. It is now just about 9 a.m. and we do see from these ODOT cameras that traffic is starting to move by. I want to see if we can take a picture right now of investigators gathering evidence. We have here a pickup truck believed to be involved in this police chase that happened overnight. Here's a little bit of background. This whole thing started last night in Vancouver. At some point, the suspects in the vehicle traveled into Oregon and were involved in a shootout with police on the Banfield last night. Police took 2 suspects into custody, and here's the big part here. One of those suspects is linked to a murder investigation in Kelso. You might remember this is regarding the shooting death of a convenience store clerk. What are we seeing here, producer Celeste? Okay. This is, we're just now taking a tweet from Portland Police, and it says, traffic alert here, Portland Police reopening I-84 and I-205 to get traffic moving along. Wow, Chris McGinnis, this is great news. This is at least an hour earlier than we were expecting.
Yeah, let's go ahead and take it live here as we get back to our traffic cameras. You know what, we've got those dialed up here, so let's go ahead and take them. Okay, so this is I-84 near Lloyd Boulevard. This is the area that was shut down on the westbound side of the freeway. And we don't see any cars rolling through there just yet. We will keep surfing here. But again, the estimate was 10 a.m. Maybe we get that done a little bit sooner. And we see what it looks like out towards the Hollywood district and beyond. I-84, again, we're watching to see if they're going to get this reopened. Okay, well, in the meantime, I can tell you this, that regardless of when I-84 opens, and hopefully it's soon, coming out of Clark County right now is absolutely brutal. Here's the traffic map from Clark County. SR14 is still plugged up out towards Fisher's Landing. That's the westbound commute. We're also plugged up trying to get to the Interstate Bridge, and I-5 south. The lineup starts just south of 99th Street in Hazeldale right now. So with that in mind, if you're getting ready to leave and get into Portland from Clark County, I-5 is still a disaster. It's a good 70 minutes to get you in from Main Street south of the Fremont Bridge. I-205 south moving a little bit better, and hopefully we get the Banfield open. Ashley, I'm watching those Banfield cameras. I don't see westbound traffic moving just yet, but we'll certainly stay on top of that because that will be a huge relief once that does happen. Back to you.
Yeah, you know, Chris, I just pulled up Portland. That tweet that we did just show you a few minutes ago was from about 12 minutes ago of Portland Police reopening I-84. So stay tuned to that. It does look like things are at least starting to improve, and they will be getting through shortly. So we will continue to keep you posted right here on KGW and at KGW.com. Let's check in now with meteorologist Rod Hill in the Weather Center with a look at our Wednesday forecast.
Hi, everybody. Cold morning, 23 this morning, I think was the low, and I've got to check the final report, but that's the coldest we've been so far this winter season. We're at 30 degrees right now. We're on our way up to about 40. We'll keep plenty of sunshine. We have light winds. Tomorrow's dry. Another really cold night tonight, back down to the low 20s. And then Friday, we're still eyeing at least a chance of some light precipitation in the morning, and it would be maybe 28 or 30 degrees, so we're watching that. And there's still concern that Saturday could see rain transition to snow, and we could be looking at a snowstorm develop in the PM hours of Saturday, snowing Saturday night, snowing Sunday morning. I'll have my latest forecast update for you on the noon news here on KGW.
Hey, producers, can someone tell us if we're still streaming on Facebook Live? Okay, we are still on Facebook Live. Good morning, everybody. This is Ashley Korslund here. I just stepped out to do a cut-in on television, and so I'm kind of taking over for Pat Doris, who is out on a shoot. Excuse me, it is 9:03. Boy, we have been going for hours this morning on this big traffic mess. I'm standing next to Chris McGinnis right now. So, Chris, basically for those of you out there still tuning in, and those of you just joining us this morning, the latest is that Portland Police has tweeted out, it was about 13 minutes ago, that they were reopening I-84 westbound. So the key words there, reopening. So I'm not exactly sure where in the process they are.
Or in the process of, but not necessarily.
Maybe not open yet.
Yeah, I don't see any westbound traffic getting through yet. And furthermore, I think maybe the big traffic alert right now is if you're watching us in Clark County, do not get on I-5 right now.
Yeah.
I-5 southbound is absolutely plugged up all the way up through Hazeldale. I showed you the drive time a couple minutes ago. We're on the order of about 65, 70 minutes to get you in from Main Street. You can tack on another 20 or so. Okay, 61 minutes. So there you go. And tack on more if I extended that back to 99th. You get the idea that we're still running really, really heavy. Let's switch gears. I want to go ahead and bring up those ODOT and WashDOT cameras again, because I think we'll be able, I've got it queued up to show us what the Banfield looks like. I believe I do. Yes. Okay. And there we go. I-84 westbound traffic. There we go. No, I'm sorry. I stand corrected. That is a Max train. Just to let you know, Max is rolling just fine, but this is the Halsey overpass, and this is traffic going over I-84. This is westbound I-84 right down here, and I still don't see any cars rolling along on that just yet. So we may be just a few minutes away. We'll cycle through some of these cameras. Again, Portland police initially said about 10 o'clock, but looks like they're maybe closer to getting that reopened. Not able to get it there, but in any event, there you go. Actually, you can see that they've got that truck up on a flatbed, hopefully getting that yanked out of there now.
Yeah, we want to get out there to Tim Gordon, who, Tim, this is your shot, I believe we're seeing. Tell us what's going on here with this truck.
Yep, you bet. Yeah, the tow truck pulled in here about 25 minutes ago at the most. He's got the truck up on board now, and he is about to leave. You're going to see him pull out of here in just a matter of seconds, I believe. And then you're going to see I-84 westbound open up the Banfield back into Portland. I'm sure Portland police tweeted that out, and now they're going to be able to make good on that word that the interstate's going to reopen this section. There goes the truck that was involved in that pursuit out of Vancouver with shots fired, and 2 suspects taken into custody last night. More than a 12-hour investigation out here at the scene is just now over, and you can expect that traffic to start flowing again. Ash?
All right, Tim, thank you. So again, it is 9:06 this morning. We have not been able to confirm personally that there are cars moving through on I-84 westbound, but just to reiterate, Portland police tweeting that they are in the process at least of reopening the interstate. So some great news. You know, that's going to still take a long time for people to get through there, because boy, that backup has been going on for miles and hours and hours and hours. So there is a lot to come. There's a lot to learn of this investigation. Oh, Chris McGinnis, what are you saying here?
Oh, that's actually that camera that we're looking at right there. That's I-205 and I-84 Halsey. The traffic that you see moving there in the background, that's I-205 traffic. But we are keeping a close tab on those I-84 cameras to see when, in fact, we get some westbound traffic rolling, which is not happening just yet, but we'll keep you posted.
All right, Chris, thank you very much. Well, it is 9:06. I want to thank everybody for tuning in this morning on Facebook and at KGW.com. We will leave you here with that and close out our live coverage, but make sure you stay tuned throughout the day. We have a big update coming up on the news at noon today right here on KGW, and stay with us on all of our social media platforms and as well as our website and our mobile app. Have a great Wednesday.